Or mute your YouTube. Hi, everybody. Hold on. We're still getting set up here. Just making sure that I get everything muted once YouTube starts playing.
Okay, I'm muted.
Awesome.
YouTube.
Yeah, awesome. And if you want, did I tell you this or did I tell my other? I'm sorry if I did already tell you this, but I usually pop out the chat from YouTube and drag it over to my other monitor so that I can only focus on Hangouts and the chat and totally ignore YouTube because it's delayed a bit. So I need to pop out my chat. Hi, everybody. We're just gonna stall for a minute, let everybody get settled, grab some drinks, grab some coffee, something. I don't know. I can't tell you how long I've been going. It has been, oh my goodness, about 36 hours or something more than that. I don't even know. And I slept for about an hour. I napped for like an hour. I kept saying, yeah, I'm going to go to bed. But I laid down and I was like, no, my mind is going, would not allow it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Yeah. But you're thinking.
Paul's here, reporting live from my sofa. Hi, Elle Fallon. Oh gosh, let's see. Oh, everybody, hello. Hello, there's Denise and Linda, Scott, MN Greg. There's Ripper. Can I request Justin for a guest appearance, though? He just woke up, so probably not. But, you know, hit him up on Clash of Clans. Oh, he's not even in here. Okay, never mind. I was like, I'm going live. Go away. No, I'm kidding. I'm not that mean. Hi, Russell. Hi, Valerie. Wendra, Chloe. Precious. What's up, everybody? Yeah, Shauna, I'm mentally done, but I'm still really like super excited to be here and part of this. This is so fun. Hi, Rhonda. Catnit. Hi, Linda. Hi, Jane. Yes. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mark Hodnott. I got my shirt, I think yesterday, and it fits and it's perfect. And hold on, let me kind of stand up and show you a little bit. Oh, I'm tethered. Hold on. It's my Australia shirt, y'all. Oh, yeah. It's very hard because I'm really close to the wall, so I had to stand on my tippy toes. And
I just assumed that was Packers.
That's what everybody keeps saying. I wish I could not Packers. Oh, it doesn't help.
Did you go to Australia, or did Mark or someone send you that?
Yeah, Mark sent it. Everybody, like all the people have like all the YouTubers and people, the HOD sent us all these shirts or gave them in person if he got to meet them. I never got to meet him in person though yet. I'll meet him at the rally this year. So I'm excited about that. Yes, Jane, I'm an honorary Australian. That's awesome. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Sam. Oh, and this is my guest, Rayxor. Did I say that right?
Sure.
Oh, how do you say it?
I don't really say it much. It's just it's an online thing, so it's just written that. But that's the intention, was to spell it like that. It was a name that I use with my kids whenever we had to game and stuff, and I had to come up with some name. So it's just been incorporated into a lot of my online personalities.
That's awesome. That's what I use. I go sometimes by Devlin, and that's my gamer name. That's what I use everywhere I play games. Let's see. The updated total last I heard was 1121.34. I think that there might have been a donation since this got updated, but let me just show you what I've got right now. Oh no, it is updated. 1127.55, you guys. Hold on, I will show you. There we go. 11:27:55. Hopefully, I see black flashing. I'm not really sure why. Hopefully that doesn't show up to everybody.
I see it too, but now it's just the background.
Okay, good. There it is. I have no idea why that's happening. Technical difficulties.
Just to weed out the epileptics, I think.
Oh gosh, that's terrible. I hope not.
I know.
Oh my
Hopefully
goodness.
No one heard that.
We love you, epileptics. Please don't leave us.
Oh yeah, we're all epileptics here, right?
Yeah. Oh no, Eric Cozy, we're good now. He was just working on his headset or speakers or microphone. I wasn't able to hear him, so he's good now. You guys can hear him okay, right? Everybody?
Everyone can hear me just fine.
Good.
Check.
Yeah, it's delayed, so it'll take him a second to answer. But while I'm waiting for everybody to answer,
right. I forgot about
yeah, it's not too bad. Hi, Elf Allen. I've just been going for like 5 minutes. Yep, 5 minutes. Good. They can hear him. Wait, this is not Paul. This is not Paul. This is Razor. And I'll just go ahead real quick. We've got 113 in, so we're probably good. We're probably good. I'm going to do the best I can because I just met Razor last night. So I have not had any time to prepare anything special or amazing like this big WWE welcome. I'll do my best. I don't know. What do they say? Oh my gosh. I have no idea.
I don't know. Well,
I haven't watched WWE in forever. Okay, so
I'll come up with my own intro. How's that?
Yeah, do it.
You just talk for a second and I'll.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'll do my best at the quick, semi-vague description of what we're going to be talking about a little bit. Master's in science. He does work in research in biological and pharmacological sciences for over 20 years, which is freaking awesome. So we're going to talk about the EDTA testing, and I'm not going to give everything away because he wants to take questions from you guys if you have questions on any of the scientific stuff. So he says he's looked into almost all the science in the case at one time or another throughout his career. So lots of cool sciencey stuff if you guys want to ask questions. Please tag me if you can, if you have a question for him, and I'll try my best to get to all the questions. Also, you can tag him. He's under the same name. So one of us will see it. Oh, thank you, Elf Fallon.
Okay, I'll
my Aussie
I'll
shirt.
start here.
Yeah, you got it.
I wanted a WWE intro, so
yes.
So imagine me coming down a runway and there's fireworks going off and stuff like that, and I'm pointing at you, and then I'm pointing at you. Hey, guy. Yeah, you're cool.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that was fun. I gave you some little fireworks there.
Okay, so just to add on to what Allie was saying, I've been working in research for over 20 years, and before that, I was, working as a grad student and doing. I covered a whole bunch of things. What you do in your grad studies kind of relates and goes into what you do in your career, but you learn a bunch of different things on the way. And so, in my background, I did work with microscopic and gross anatomy as a student. So I'm familiar with some of the bone evidence that we've been looking at, and as with my career in research, I do a lot of HPLC. The LC part of that is the same as the LC in LCMS. That is what the EDTA test was based on. So I understand a fair bit of that, not 100% of it, but enough to know what the data is saying for the most part. um, if any people recognize my name Rayxor, I used to be quite active a couple years ago on Reddit, fairly early on. Um, and I've always had an interest in science. So what I did was I was following a few cases that were popular around that time with serial making a murder, and I was always interested in the science of it. So when there was discussions of science, I'd jump right in and I'd try and understand it and everything like that. um, and because I work in science and research, part of that isn't just having people saying, "Oh yes, you're right, you're right, you're right." It's like it's dealing with people who are trying to find the truth that will look at the data and say, "Okay, you said this, but the data kind of shows that." And that's how science works. You've got people who are trying to poke holes in what you say the data is doing, not because they're assholes, or can I say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
because they're
you can.
Oh, good.
Yeah, totally free here. Say whatever you want.
So, so they're not saying that to be jerks or anything like that. They're doing it so that what you come out in the end is a solid case for what you think the data is saying. This is how science works normally. It's people saying what you're saying is wrong and this is why, and you say, okay, I'll have to deal with that. I know what you're saying and I'll figure out why it looks that way. You run some more tests or you cite some more work that backs up what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, so what happens then is we're back in Reddit now and I'm looking at these things. I actually went to the Say group because I thought, well, if anyone's going to, disagree with what I'm saying and have a counter argument to the things I'm saying, it's there. What happened was I would present something and I wouldn't get counter arguments. I'd basically get people saying, no, you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. Someone already talked about this and they said that's what you said isn't right. And I'm like, no, this is how they read this material. And I'm saying, look at the actual data. Like I'd be showing them then they're like, well, I don't know what that's saying, but so and so said it's fine, so you're wrong. And this is kind of what caught me because I'm finding that these people aren't really they're not arguing the science behind that. They're arguing the argument, which is like Stephen Avery is guilty, so therefore what they found there must be legit. So this is, for me, it just turned into showing them why they're incorrect. And what it ended up being was a lot of people telling me that I'm wrong and me saying, what about this is wrong? And then they'd say, the typical responses like, oh, you're just supporting a sex fiend or something like that.
Yes.
It's like, oh, you're fooled by a TV show or
yeah. I've heard that so many times too. That's your argument? That's the best you've got? No, I'm sorry.
And so I'd say, okay, guys, I do similar work. I don't work on the exact machine they do, but I work on similar things. I develop methods for liquid chromatography. I have to troubleshoot them. And if you are given a method and you want to get good results, it's going to take months. And that's what I told them.
Hey, Laura. There's Perplex. Hi. So, Laura, this is Rayxor.
Hi, Rayxor.
Laura. Hello.
How are you?
Nice to have you. Thanks
Fluff
for coming.
is going nuts.
Oh, that's my dog. Let me see the dog. Let me see the doggy.
I'm going berserk. So what's up? What are we talking about?
Oh, Sapper Cup said, ask if he's ever encountered a pair of gloves that allow the person to selectively drop blood.
Wait, what was that?
I've been working for years on that, and it's tricky. So.
right? He's
Um,
devoted years of his research into finding the answer to that very question.
Yeah, it's like they got one-way valves on the gloves that will filter out the sweat but not the blood or something.
Right, exactly. And, hide the
How about
fingerprints, but let the blood come through. By the way, Laura, you look awesome and beautiful as usual, as always.
You.
how about give me another 5 minutes? I'll finish what I'm saying, and then you and Laura can talk, and I'll wait for questions to show up, and then I'll get into my other stuff.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so where was I? Okay, I was telling all these people on Reddit, and in particular the SAG group,
Okay, cool.
about how this takes months to work this stuff out, and I've done it myself.
Okay, cool. One second. Sorry, 1 second. We have, oh my gosh, the echo.
I've done it myself.
Okay, cool. 1 second. We have echo. Sorry, guys. Oh my gosh, the
Is that
echo.
Laura with the
Hold on. 1 second. Laura. Laura,
Bye.
do you have?
Oh shit. My bad.
That's okay.
You think I wouldn't make that mistake?
Right?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Sorry, Razor. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Us with the technical difficulties here with the sound. Okay, we're all good now. We are all good. Okay, go for it.
Okay.
I'm so sorry.
So I was telling these Redditors that were arguing with me, this process takes months. And they were telling me that, I'm absolutely crazy. It only takes a couple weeks, the exact amount of time that it took the FBI lab to get this going. And they were going on about how, anyone can run this. Anyone that knows anything about chromatography could run this. A student could, an undergrad student. And I'm like, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Undergrad students don't do this sort of stuff at all. They don't run chemical analysis on things. They do labs that are pre-set up for them. And I was pointing this out, and heck, I even found a quote that Mark LeBeau told Ken Kratz at one point that, hey, I'm going to need more time to do this, like 3-4 months. So I had everything on my side saying that this is in fact how long it takes, and no one would believe me. And it was at that point I'm thinking, these guys aren't arguing from a point of, logic here. They're arguing from the point of Stephen Avery is guilty and everything has to show that. And that's what really drew me in and kept me on there, because I was seeing the bullshit early on. So then I said to people, how has anyone actually read this big report? Like, what can they tell me about it? No one else did. It's like, oh, we read the other one and that's fine. I'm like, well, that's not all the raw data. So I actually read through this 700-page thing with all the stuff there, and then I'm finding all sorts of problems like, hey, wait a minute, that's not what he said in his summary there, and so then I was asking. There was a few people on the guilty groups that were that had some science background, and they were the most reasonable people. Like, they would say to me, yeah, that's kind of weird that he did it that way. And even Schadenfreude, who's the retired chemistry prof, she even said to me in a personal message on Reddit, she said, yeah, I tried to look at that at his big report, but it was like a particularly bad student report. It was just all over the place. So the people that actually put the time into looking at the data for this test either found it too difficult and too disorganized to read, or they just didn't bother, or if they did bother, they just stopped talking to me about it. So it's like, there's something up here. And then there's the people who pretend to have science backgrounds who would just say that, everything's fine with it. And particularly guys like Batman Playing Metal, who's sure, he probably has an interest in science, but he has no science education. It's very clear. And it's just like other people said, it's banging your head on the wall trying to argue with someone like him.
Mm-hmm.
So this will be the point where I'll stop talking a bit, and you and Laura can chat, and I will be talking quite extensively about the EDTA test and all the things that I found. I've got an image of a discussion I had on Reddit with New York John, where I was pointing out, I found one where I was pointing out all the things I've already told him that he's been ignoring. So it gives me a good point by point thing that I can go through with the group here, and I can post that as well.
Yes.
And in the meantime, because I've had to look at all sorts of science, people can throw questions out, and I will, while you guys are talking, I'll scroll back and I'll write down some of them that either they're ones that I will be talking about, or something I haven't thought about. And they don't necessarily have to be about the EDTA either. They can be anything, the DNA stuff I've read and I've studied up and figured out how a lot of that works too.
Okay.
And there's a couple other topics I've spoken to you about things as well, but we'll see how the time goes for those other things. Okay, so I'll send it back to you, and you and Laura can talk, and I'll get some stuff ready for a little bit later.
Okay. Well, thank you. This is already awesome. I can't wait to see your presentation on the EDTA, because I'm one of the people that have not read it, and even if I tried to, I wouldn't have understood it. So
no one should ever read it. It's 700 pages. Like even the 9-page summary is pretty dry, and you don't know what the hell it means. But
right.
I read it so people wouldn't have to. Took one for the team.
Oh, there's a good question. Mystical Jinxie asks, is EDTA diminished at all after it's exposed to air?
Oh, okay. I can just answer that one now. It's fairly hardy. I don't think it really does. It might a little bit, but I'm not convinced that it's going to be absent if it's been placed on a surface. But there's so much else with the test that almost makes a question like that irrelevant, and I'll get into all that too.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to ask if, if blood, because I mean, have experiments been done on this type of thing? If you have EDTA, in the blood vial, obviously, and you take some of that blood out of the vial and put it somewhere and it sits for a few days, like does the amount diminish to a point where it would be hard to trace? I think that's one of the things you're going to get into, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
you don't have to answer that too detailed at the moment, but I was just curious, does it diminish at all?
I can give a quick answer just because there is a simple way to look at it. Blood tubes that they use for collecting blood,
Mm-hmm.
They're a clear plastic, or I think some of them used to be glass, but they're right now they tend to be plastic. And the EDTA, I've seen ones where the EDTA is in like a dry salt, or it's in a solution in the tube. And there's no special instructions on storing these that I can think of. They're just stored on a shelf. It's not a amber tube or anything like that. So the manufacturer does not seem too concerned about it being, degraded when it's exposed to anything.
Okay.
So
That's good to know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge concern.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. Bernard says usually it's dry and they have to shake it up. Yeah. I've seen them do that. Like after they.
Yeah, they always got to mix it up so that it's mixed with the blood and it gets dispersed.
Yeah. Okay. Laura, I think Laura's probably smoking. She doesn't smoke on camera.
Oh, okay.
But she said she was going to go and post the links to this live on her, like on her Facebook page and probably on Twitter and stuff. So she might not be exactly here right now, but I'll take this moment to. Okay, no, I won't.
I'm here. I was on mute.
Okay.
So you guys didn't have to hear me type because everyone always gets on me about I fucking type. So
I know.
I won't type.
You and me with the mechanical keyboards that are just like, they're like Hulk smashing our keyboards. They think we are. That's what I like about them, y'all. So, well, just really quick, I didn't get to say much about this, but I'd like to just remind everybody that we are here to talk about the rally. Remind everybody that the rally is coming up June 15th at the Manitowoc County Courthouse. And I hope that everybody comes. I want this to be like the biggest, the loudest, the most awesome event that we've had so far. Every year, I hope it gets bigger and bigger. We're going to keep doing stuff like this to try to raise awareness. Fen is doing 80 days of hashtag 80 more things on Twitter to lead up to the rally. She's been going for a month or so now. So we're getting there. We're also trying to raise a little bit of money for Brennan and Steven for their canteens. So the mods will be posting links to donate through the PayPal that we have set up just for this event, and also for the international donators that would rather use GoFundMe. There's that set up, and there is the trust that's set up for Steven. All these things will be linked throughout the live. So if anybody has anything that they need linked, if you haven't seen it, it'll pop up anytime, or you can just ask and the mods will get it right up for you. But right now we're talking to Rayxor and Laura PurPleXedQT. So this should be fun.
What's up?
What's up?
What's up? Started.
Yeah, let's do it. So anything you want to talk about, Laura?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Let's see. Get back in making a murder ahead. I don't know. I'd like if anyone has any questions for me about making a murder, or you want to discuss something. I don't really. I hate to admit this. I haven't really followed much because I'm just kind of bored with it. But I mean, I know it as well as anybody else, except the new legal stuff. I just don't care anymore. Right. When something happens, I'm right there. But like if Ken Kratz, we could talk about Ken Kratz. I'll talk about him all day. But stuff, like if anyone wants to ask me any questions about making a murder or anything like that, I'm all for it. I think I have like 180 videos on making a murder. Like I'm kind of burnt out. Like,
right. So thank you so much for your donation. Awesome. We'll get it updated here in a little bit.
How come you're monetized on this?
I have all of the super chats and monetization and everything turned off for this because I don't want anybody to accidentally super chat to me thinking that the donation will go to the guys. So I have it all turned off. All donations are going to go to the guys.
Okay. So Denise would like a recap on my time at John Bootwell.
Yes.
Start at the beginning or since the interview? Because like it goes way back to when I made the video with Lynn about John and Carmen, and he actually sent me a text message left me a message on my video about Carmen and said, hey, this is really interesting to me. I'm her brother. Can you get a hold of me? I made this poor guy show me his license. I made him totally prove that he was legit. And he was. And I really, because Lynn had found so much of that research, I really wanted her to handle this with me because it wasn't really my research. It was hers. So I got her on the phone, and then we brought Mike Ryan in, and the three of us did a lot of talking about him. And, he got really close with Lynn's family and just learned so much about how we were wrong in a lot of ways, which was fine, but learned a lot about the funeral and, like being the first one to put out there that the bones could have been Carmen's. It was so nice of him to pretty much justify or negate what we thought we knew and what he actually did know. So, I mean, that's in a nutshell. And then we kept in touch for like a year. He was in Uncensored, and then he kind of just, it got too much for him, and the trolls and everything, it just got too much. So he disappeared. He wanted out. And then finally he came back and he hit me up again. And I said to him, you know, hey, let's do an interview, get the story out there. And then I don't want to mention names, but somebody had put out another video that really upset him. And he said to me, let's do this. And that's how the interview started. And I spoke to him a couple of times after that, but not a lot. I do have to reach out to him again. I haven't. But he's a beautiful daughter. And that he named Carmen, CarYmen, I think it is. And he's a really, really good guy.
Yeah. Oh, did he end up getting those hoodies or whatever that someone was going to send him to replace the one?
Travis was going to. I'm not sure. I haven't heard from Travis or seen him at all.
Oh, I hope Travis pops in so we can ask.
Hey, Brady. They're doing another rally. They haven't learned yet, have they? Probably not, Amy.
Oh, somebody asked a question. Where did it go? Oh no, I just had it too. And
did you hear the Kratz interview? No, Fallon, I haven't. What's the Kratz interview?
Oh, Laura, what? You haven't? It's from the Convicting a Murderer. Where
is that out?
No, but there's a clip that's on Twitter where AC Rookie is going up against Kratz and they're debating. And he schools his ass hard. It is hilarious. Kratz is like doing like, and he is saying some of the most outrageous, ridiculous shit you've ever heard in your life. Like he's talking about coroners don't do shit. All they do is kick the dead body or kick the body to see if it's dead.
Wow.
Like they don't do nothing. That's all they do. And you know, like, so your complaint is that instead of getting someone like that who just kicks the body to see if they're dead or not, instead we got a forensic anthropologist to come out and tell us, you know, about the bones. And first of all, no, you didn't. She didn't go out to the property. So what is this lie? You know, obviously she got them later. She wasn't there. There was no one there excavating that site at all properly. You know, using what the fuck are those things called? The things and the shovels and the, you know, whatever, and just not properly excavated at all. And so I'm sorry, but yeah, we would have probably preferred at least a coroner to be there to oversee it. Someone that could have, you know, made sure it was done properly, because there's so much information that's lost. There's no documentation of it. Where's the pictures? Where's the evidence that it was ever there in the first place?
I don't think it's ever been a secret that Ken Kratz is a liar. I mean, I think we're all pretty well aware of that one.
Right. And he says he's gonna educate AC Rookie. And it's hilarious. It's, yeah, you got to see it. It's so funny. But yeah, the clip was on Twitter.
I haven't seen it. And thank you, Ron.
Oh, here it is. Rule posted the link in chat. Thanks, Rule. Yeah, they kick the body to see if it's dead. Hi, the light truth. Hi, Amy.
What is the light truth?
Huh?
What'd you just say?
The light truth. Yes. I was just saying.
Light truth. I heard you say a name.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Because Bobby lied. Let's see. And someone asked who your suspect is.
My suspect has not changed. My suspect has always been the same. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not that it's always been the same. It's changed a couple times. But I still believe that Bobby and Michael did it. And I was going to say Ken Kratz. And Scott helped clean it up. That has not changed. I don't care what Zellner comes out with. I don't care what Zellner doesn't come out with. I'm pretty convinced from 2016 that Bobby and Michael and Scott helped clean it up. I would love to say that Scott did the murder, but I don't think he did.
Sorry, I muted myself so I could type.
Hey, Clary. Patreon's in the house.
Awesome. Welcome, everybody. Yeah, so if anybody has questions for Laura or for Razor, just tag any of us and we'll try to get your questions answered. So especially science related.
Not my forte.
For Razor, and then random related for me and Laura. We're random. We'll do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Linda's asking what you think of the bones. Oh, your question rule? Did you ask?
All right. Do you mean what do I think of the bones, the way it's been handled, or what do I think of the bones that there was some kind of conspiracy behind it? Like, clarify it. That's right, Twan. The Patreons rock. Purple Mafia.
Oh, that's right. So if you guys are watching chat, you should switch it up to live chat from top chat to live chat. Because Rule, I'm sorry if I missed your question. He's asking if you read the last response and reply.
I did a video on it. I hate saying this, but I got to be honest. Anyone that knows me, I'm going to be honest and put it out there. I don't like the way this whole thing is being handled. I think that there are a lot of things. I get what she's doing. I do. I 100% completely get what she's doing, but it doesn't mean I have to agree with it. And people can say whatever they want about me, and people can say whatever they want about how I'm wrong about this and I'm wrong about that. But history has shown that I've actually been right way more than I've been wrong about these things that she writes. I want to say these dissertations. A lot of things that she writes, I agree with. But for example, people came on me hard when I said that her with the bones, someone had made a comment, or not a comment, but someone had said something about like she had every right to bitch about, Judge Bitch. I call her Judge Bitch. Judge Bitch being on the crew originally with Ken Kratz. It has nothing to do with each other. Like, for her to even put that into me was completely immature, because even I know it has nothing to do with anything. And they slammed her for it, and they were right. A couple of things like that. And I think I get why she's putting so many stuff into it, because she kind of has to. But I just think like maybe she would get further if she just, like, instead of writing a complete dissertation, just narrow down the important shit and be done with it. Because regardless, nobody wants to read 30 pages because half of it's bullshit. Like, it's like filler stuff. I don't think she needed 15 pages on the what am I talking about, Allie? You know what I mean? The new science thing.
Brain fingerprinting? No. Oh, the bones testing?
Not the bones testing, the rapid DNA. I don't think she needed 15 pages on it.
That would be for the bones, yeah.
Yes.
I think probably the reason why she did that, though, is because she's so focused on those bones, knowing damn well that they don't have them anymore. And I'm gonna all this. If I understand anything from listening to our legal people, is the procedural bar, like, bring it up now or you lose it. So all this nonsense from the state trying to say, well, just drop this appeal and go back and do that, and then saying, no, you can't bring that up because you didn't bring it up already. Just all those silly things that they're playing.
And I do, and I agree with that. And I knew Andy was going to come at me, and I'm okay with it. Andy, I'm not saying that anyone would be a better attorney. That's not what I said. Nor did I say that she's not a absolutely phenomenal attorney. Never said that either. And yet her record speaks for itself, and 19 exonerations speak volumes. She's like the highest exonerated attorney in the entire world. I would never take that away from her, ever. However, that doesn't mean that I have to agree with the things she's doing, especially when when the appeals court agree with what I say, when the decisions come back and it turns out that they're saying exactly the things that I'm saying, that kind of says something. So I know that she's throwing everything she can out there because she has to. Never denied that. But I think that this case is different than the 19 other exonerations that she's had, because there's certain things in here that you don't have in the other cases. So don't twist my words that I think, you know, Joe Schmo would be a better attorney for her. That's not, I never said anything like that. But I am saying that there are things that I don't know why she does that don't go in her favor. And she keeps making that same mistake over and over and over again. Try changing it. Maybe we'll get further. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, she's made a couple of mistakes, and I think, you know, everybody can admit that at least. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the fact that she's not taking any chances and she's including everything, even though it's a little bit annoying to see, like you said, 15 pages on one specific thing. But I want there to be no excuse for the judge to say, I don't have enough information. Deny it because there's not enough information. There's not enough proof or whatever to back it up, why you want that included, and why I should consider it. Like, I like that she's overdoing it, if you want to call it that. I don't think it's overdoing it. I think she's doing well, and that's why I have no legal background, of course. So I trust whatever she's doing because she always ends up making it work and winning in the end. So however we get there, like, I support totally whatever she does. But I do I do realize that there are some things that maybe could have been handled differently or better that some people might not agree with.
But even the best attorney in the world, the best anything in the world, Michael Jordan. Let me use basketball as an example. Michael Jordan is by far the best basketball player to ever hit the court. But he misses jump shots because he may have stepped on something wrong, or he may have moved the wrong way, and that cost him a jump shot. It doesn't matter. It doesn't take away or negate the fact that he's an amazing basketball player, one of the best that ever played the game, if not the best. But he makes mistakes. And we can sit back and watch it and say, dude, why'd you fucking stand there? Like, why did you take the shot from there? Like, and he knows that he shouldn't have, but he did it anyway. That's the best way I can explain this. Like, I can't, it's really the best analogy. Even a football player, same thing. Sports, and you're like, what? Why are you going that way? Like, what the fuck? You know you're wrong. It's the same thing. Just because she's an amazing attorney and the most exonerations doesn't mean that she doesn't make mistakes. It doesn't mean that I can't point out her mistakes. I can't really explain it any better than that.
I think it's okay. You know, we're just expressing our opinions. Like, we're not experts, obviously, but if we see something like, I don't understand this, or I don't see why that needed to be done, I don't think it's a bad thing, you know, to question. But as long as in the end, like, we have the trust, I think we all agree on that, at least, that we have the trust in her that in the end she's gonna pull it through and come through. Really quick, Ziggy, I'm going to try because I have to go scroll back a bit, and I hope I don't miss anybody, but I had to go back a bit to get this. Ziggy asks, if the blood vial isn't shaken, how likely is the EDTA to be in the blood? And I think what you're talking about is the blood vial that was in evidence. Obviously, I don't even have to. I mean, it was preserved there since, what, 85? So it had to have been shaken up to still be liquid when they examined it in, what, 2000, when the hell did they do that? 2003? Whenever that was, when they first went in there. Not 2003, was it? Whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Good grief. And then this one is for Razor. Are you writing down your questions, Razor, that they're putting in, or do you want me to ask you one that I see?
I'm looking at some of them right now, and I just sat down recently, so I'm just starting to put some down.
Okay. Do you want me to give you a minute? Or
yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Let us know whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Rule had a question for you, but he tagged me.
Let me go back real quickly, because I never even answered about the bones. Here's my situation with the bones, and I'm very torn with it. And part of the reason I'm torn with it is because I feel like they lied. Shocker. But I feel like they lied that they never tested them. Legally, according to Wisconsin state law, the family has a right to those bones if they're Teresa's. When the original trial happened, they said that Ken Kratz went on record stating that the bones are most likely not human. So they kind of threw them away, or that's what they went to preserve. Before they gave back the bones to the family, I might be wrong, but I've always believed that they tested those bones and they knew that they were Teresa's. And that's why they gave them back to them. Is there record of it? No. Is there record of it that we know of? No. Does that mean it doesn't exist? No. But I find it hard to believe that after the trial and after Ken Kratz said all that, that the family would just take any bones. So I have a feeling, whether it was documented or undocumented, that they decided to bring the bones. They decided to test the bones so they knew which bones to give back to the family. According to Wisconsin law, if they did that, and that, again, that's just a guess, but if they did that, then they followed the law and Zellner can't touch it. Does it mean that they didn't break a violation because Stephen Avery was, asking for those bones and asking for them to be tested? That's a whole nother legal issue. But if they can prove that they tested the bones, and if they can prove that it wasn't that they tested the bones and it wasn't a big thing, then yes, the family has every right to those bones. So that was a question about the bones. I apologize. I kind of went around it before.
Yeah. I guess that's the big question right now. Was this a violation of his rights? Yes or no? We all say yes. Of course it was, because we know very well that the state believed that those were Teresa's bones, whether they legally were proven, forensically were proven to be Teresa's. Of course they weren't. We know that, but at least not in any reports that we have that we know of. So I'm not gonna assume that they did some secret testing to determine it, but I will go by what we do know. What we do know is that the closest thing they could get to, knowing if they're human was Eisenberg's report that says they are human. The bones both in the burn pit, the burn barrel, and the quarry locations. When her report says they're human, unless you have multiple murdered women scattered around both properties, they all belong to the same victim. And if that victim is Teresa Halbach, which I believe it is, then you have to also assume that the bones in the quarry were also Teresa's. And we know that the state is not stupid, and they know very well that they are. No one's trying to claim that there's multiple victims out there. So I don't think that they can even try to say that. But
now I don't remember exactly. And you can help me out with this. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm jumping on it because it's coming up in chat. The violation only says they have to keep certain bones. Did it say they needed to keep all the bones, or they needed to keep some of the bones? Because everyone's talking about what they needed to keep in evidence, but they did keep some in evidence. Was there any law written or anywhere written that said they needed to keep 50 of the bones, not 10 of the bones? That's my question. Hey, Puss in Boots.
No, they all should be lumped together because they all are together. All of the bones that were believed to be human, according to their own expert, should have been kept because they supposedly belong to the victim, and that's what the statute says. Of course, the state is arguing, well, but they weren't forensically proven to be hers, like through DNA testing or whatnot. but their expert says they were human. And you're saying that this human victim is the one that Stephen Avery killed, Teresa Halbach. So you are admitting that they are Teresa's bones. So therefore, they did violate the law. They violated his rights. And I understand that argument.
But the law, Wisconsin law specifically states that if the biological evidence is bones, I forgot exactly what it said, but if it was like bones of the family, then they have every right to give it back to the family. So that's where the law of Wisconsin has been iffy, because even though it says all biological evidence, it also says that any bones belonging to a victim can legally go back to the family. People forget that part of the law.
They can do that, but they have to go through a process to do that. Like they have to notify the defendants, the ones that are still in prison for the crime. They have to notify them through their attorneys and themselves, however they go about that, which they didn't. So they violated that part of the procedure to be able to legally release those bones.
See, but here's my thing too. And again, bones have never been my forte. I really don't think about them or blood. And everyone who knows me knows that. That's just not my thing. But when it comes to the bones and when it comes to what you just said, people are acting, and even in chat, people are acting like they have to do things the right way. This state has never done anything the right way. This state has lied over and over and over and over. This state has backtracked over and over and over and over. So I guess I've never understood why people can't separate the fact that the state has never done things by the rules. So to think that, oh, well, if they tested this or if they did this, it would be like not right or it would be illegal. The state has always done that. So I don't know why people think it's so far-fetched if they would have broke the rules this way. That's what I never got.
Like they're guilty of wrongfully convicting two people. So I don't put anything past them as far as, they've lost evidence, they've withheld evidence, they've excluded, they've lied to the defense, like just any way you can possibly think of, they have bent the rules or broken them. They clearly have no care for going about things the right way. And so I don't, of course, it doesn't surprise me that they would give away the bones. I feel like that was very intentional because, knowing that someday they could be tested and they could be proven to be Teresa's, and then there would be no question that something is different than what they said. Like the bones in the quarry not only are not worth talking about, they are actually Teresa's, and that changes everything. I mean, it doesn't exonerate him on its own, but it definitely changes. Like their theory is garbage. It could possibly move the location of the murder. Like we don't know, and that's why there's this question right now, and they really do need to have an evidentiary hearing to determine what they should have done. Of course, because they're both arguing. We could give them away. No, you can't. Yes, we can. No, you can't. Well, we need to like get in front of the judge and sort this out, because that's something that definitely. And I don't want to get too much into legal stuff because I'm not I'm not very educated in the law. I'm more into the case stuff, and I get everything, and I try to say it right from Tracy, basically lawyer, and Travis. So hopefully I've said all that stuff right, the legal stuff. I try to.
Julie, I agree with you that they have no incentive to do things the right way. I absolutely agree with you.
They're not held accountable. Why would they?
I mean, hard. So why is this a KZ issue? Why is it her fault that the state is breaking the rules? It's not her fault, but as an attorney, she needs to prove how they broke the rules, and she needs to do it well enough that the appeal courts agree with her unconditionally. And that's what she hasn't been able to do yet.
The appeal.
Bring it on. Let's go. Come on, panel. Let's fight it out.
Who?
Andy.
Oh, Andy. Well, after Razor gets done with all the things he's doing, if he wants to still come on and debate with you, that'd be cool. I definitely want to give everybody a chance to hear this EDTA stuff and the other things that he'd like to answer whenever he's ready. Thank you, Michelle.
I've looked through a lot of the chat, and I've written out some of the questions, so I can start to talk about them a bit.
Okay.
Ziggy was asking about shaking the vial and if that will affect how much EDTA is in the blood. How the EDTA works in the vial is it acts as an anticoagulant. So it chelates. Let's see. I'll think of the easier way to say this. It kind of sequesters metal ions so that it can't be involved in any reactions. It kind of surrounds it so the metal ion can't do anything. Blood coagulation requires calcium. So what the EDTA does is it removes calcium from the coagulation reaction, and that's why it prevents it from clotting. So even if you don't shake it up, the EDTA is going to be in there. The blood can clot, but you're still going to have the same amount of EDTA. So shaking it wouldn't play any role in the amount of EDTA that you would detect. In a related thing, some people were asking about what EDTA is preserving. Because EDTA specifically chelates metal ions. That would include calcium ions, iron, any divalent cation, which calcium and iron are. There's other ones that could be in there, but those are going to be the ones that are going to be in the highest concentration. Iron, you're going to have a lot of iron in there in your blood. So what it does, particularly with calcium, when it chelates the calcium, it can't be involved in any reactions, and there's a lot of enzyme reactions which require those metal ions. So any enzyme that requires calcium ions to be present for the reaction to take place, it would prevent that. So it can prevent other things. It's not going to specifically preserve various things in your blood. It might just prevent bacteria from growing or something like that, or other things from breaking down. So you can't really say it specifically does this. What it specifically does is prevents it from clotting. It specifically will inhibit lots of enzymes. And as a result, certain things will be preserved. And that's about it. So another question, Al Fallon said, what do I think will exonerate? What sort of piece of forensic or scientific evidence? I would have to say there's no one thing that's going to do the job here. It's going to have to be a number of different things from a number of different areas. It's going to include some forensics. It's going to include some procedural stuff, some legal things, and also issues with witness statements, things that were ignored. It's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. There's not going to be one thing. Even within the scientific things, it's not going to be one scientific thing. I think you're going to have to show a pattern of them withholding various scientific findings or misleading people on what the science was showing, just to show that they weren't acting in good faith. That's my opinion. But I have no legal background whatsoever, so take that for what it's worth.
I agree with that. I think most of these things are not just on its own going to exonerate him. It's just going to be the accumulation of all the things, and we need all the pieces of the puzzle. So I like that she's being really thorough, not taking a chance to get procedurally barred, like the state is trying to suggest now, that she is. So, yeah.
So, do you want me to go into my shopping list of things with the EDTA test, and we'll get right into the meat of that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I've got a screenshot. I've already shared it in Discord, but it was part of a conversation I had with New York John, and I was getting frustrated, so I just listed off in bullet points all the things that he had been ignoring, but at the same time he'd be saying, well, I didn't show anything. And
Did you link it to me in our private message?
okay, I didn't yet, but that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, because there's so much going on in Discord, I'll lose it. Anything you link, anything you want me to share, or you also can share your screen if you want to.
That'll take me too long to figure it out.
Okay.
Easiest just to do this.
Okay. All right, let me put this up real quick. There we go.
Okay, so I'll just go over point by point all the things that I found. In LeBeau's report, they mentioned the sensitivity of the EDTA test. I can't recall exactly what the value was, but the important thing to know from that was the value that he stated was not the sensitivity for EDTA in blood, which is what this test is supposed to be showing. And that's really, when you think of these tests and what you're testing for, the test considers the type of sample that you're looking at, and that is part of the test. If you don't include that in your stated sensitivity, you're being deliberately dishonest about the sensitivity of your test. So he mentioned the sensitivity as being a certain mass per volume in water, and that's like easy to find, because in blood there's a whole lot of other things that are going to mess up your test, and there's a lot of data that supports that statement, and I can link that too, because they don't show a lot of raw numerical data from here, but the one time they do, it's it's a portion about the matrix effects, and I did share a link to a Reddit post that I had made. Matrix effects simply means the effects of the stuff in the sample that you're testing. So in this case, the matrix is the blood. So the sensitivity that he showed did not take matrix effects into consideration, even though he included a whole section on the matrix effects. So why he would just ignore that when he said, oh, it's this sensitive, when in fact it's not that sensitive, is, anyone's guess. Okay, I'm just looking for a image that I have. It's got some numbers on it.
Sorry, I was just answering some stuff in chat. Oh, Kim, also, will you remind me what it is that you wanted me to send to you? This looks like it's a Reddit post or a Reddit comment, an argument between Razor and New York John. And yeah, he doesn't like me very much either. Back in the day when I used to go on Reddit, him and I would go back and forth.
He doesn't like anyone.
Yeah. He's one of those people that refuses to be respectful when debating. He got himself banned so many times talking to me. It was funny. Okay. Next one.
Yeah, you can put that up there, and that's what I'll be talking about. This is the matrix effects, and I'll explain what this shows.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the only time where you see repeated samples run on their test. And there's probably a good reason why it's the only time they do it is just in that first group of 5, you can see the range. The first one is about 10 times as large as the 5th one. Now that's an incredible range for duplicate samples. That's like getting on your kitchen scale or your bathroom scale, and one time you met it says you weigh 50 pounds, and a couple times later it says you weigh 500 pounds. That is the range of differences that this is showing.
Wow.
Now, for a scientific test, I don't think I have to point out that that's not particularly good.
Kim is asking what instrument did they use? I think that's related to this test. Is that right?
Oh, okay. This is all on an LCMS, which is essentially 2 instruments. It's a liquid chromatograph and a mass spectrometer. So the liquid chromatograph will separate various components out in the blood so that when it gets to the mass spectrometer, it allows you to look at and measure one of them at a time. So one separates and one measures. This is the simplest way to do it. They're pretty complicated instruments.
Okay.
So now if we look back at that chart with the matrix effects with those numbers on it, where it says matrix effect at 50 ppm, the percentage, it says 3.04 and then a bunch of other numbers. So let's just say they figured out that it was the matrix effects were 3%. Now that doesn't sound like a very big number, and it doesn't sound like it's very significant, right?
Right.
Kind of.
I don't understand any of this stuff. Probably most of
yes.
Yeah. 99% of the people here
Yeah.
won't understand this stuff.
So and I only point this out because one of the more scientist educated guilters that I spoke to, Shiva Zyrons or whatever his name was, he's a chemical engineer. He thought, well, 3%, that's not much of an effect. What this actually tells you is that the matrix effect reduces the detection to 3% of what it was in water. So it actually decreased it by 97% on average. Now, that's an incredible amount. And this is still well above what they said their limit of detection was. This is 50 ppm, and I think their limit of detection was somewhere around like 10 ppm. So what this shows is that they have incredible range of values, meaning that they have absolutely no precision in what they're looking at. In fact, I took this material and I graphed it just to show the amount of error in it. And whenever you work in science, you take a bunch of repeated samples and you put them into, let's say, Microsoft Excel. It will show you the average of those things and it'll show you the distribution. So you get an idea of how well it's measuring it, how the analogy they always use is if you look at a bullseye, how close you are to the bullseye,
Okay.
or how close all your shots are bunched up. That's your precision. This one, the precision, the error bars that were made from this data actually went below zero. So it's like the worst set of data that I've ever seen presented anywhere. I mean, if I had data like this that I showed to my supervisors, they would look at me and say, "What good is this? Why are you even showing me this? This is garbage. Keep working on it."
Oh, okay.
And sorry, what?
Mystical Jinxie was asking, so the matrix effect diminishes the EDTA? Is that what this is showing, or?
Yeah, sort of. It prevents you from really getting a good measurement of it. It's kind of like putting on a pair of glasses that are all smeared or something with chalk dust or something. It's like you can't barely see anything. You have to have something right in front of you for you to be able to read it instead of, 50 yards away. It
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what it does. There's enough stuff in blood that it's going to really mess around with the detectors and everything like that. So it's causing a lot of noise, electrical and signal noise. So what you're really detecting is something very small above that noise is probably what it does. It's kind of like listening to something with a lot of static. It's like you won't be able to hear it very well because the thing you want to hear, if it's not very much louder than the static, it gets lost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a term they actually use with like reading instruments. They say signal to noise ratio, and the noise is just the random little peaks and valleys that show up in the data that you're collecting, and then the thing you're looking for, the signal, should be way above that one. So it should be like seeing a mountain on a horizon. It should be so far above there that it's very obvious what it is, and it should be very clear what's signal and what isn't. And the matrix messes this up, so there's only a little part of it that you can be sure is actual signal, and the rest is drowned out in the noise.
Okay.
So to keep on that analogy, what you're seeing is only the top 3% of that mountain peak.
Okay.
That's how much, and that's all you can really that's all you can really detect is the amount of your peak above the noise. And that's why this comes out as 3%. It's 3% of what you see in water is actually being detected in the blood. So most of it is lost.
Okay, can I ask a really dumbed
Sure.
down question? If I remember right, is this what the defense expert was trying to say, that the FBI didn't have, I guess, the proper time to calibrate their machines to detect for such a small amount, if there is a very small amount?
That was probably part of it because what they got out in 2 weeks is going to be very rushed, extremely rushed.
Right. Yeah. They said it would
And
take months, like, if I remember right,
yeah,
months, and did it
and
in
that's
a couple weeks.
and that yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier is that I do this sort of thing and it does take months.
Hmm. Yeah, and my understanding, if I remember correctly, was that the FBI said, "No, we can't do that. That's not enough time." And
That was their initial reply to them. Yeah,
yeah, and then they're
and for
like,
some reason they got them to do it anyway.
I from what I heard, it was Peg Lawson, whatever, Peg L, who said, "No, do it, get it done," and they did.
Yeah.
Like, they sorted it out and did it, and I feel like that's why some of Mark LeBeau's answers were just so ridiculous, like
Hmm.
guessing what's in samples that he didn't test and saying there is nothing in that sample that he didn't even test. So their results and all of that, I think, are just that stuff is the really dumbed down version for someone like me that doesn't understand all this scientific stuff,
Hmm.
that it just is not reliable enough to say one way or the other.
Yeah, and that's uh, I'll go off on a bit of a tangent here because this is something that I was talking about with someone else. It seems like some parts of the science, they set it up so that they get a result that no matter if it's something, the result that they want, or something that they don't want, they can make a legitimate claim to either accept it or to reject it because the test has a lot of questions with it.
Mhm.
And the simple analogy is look at Sherry Culhane's DNA test, where she contaminated the control. Now, if they didn't get the result that they wanted to, they could have just said, well, it was inconclusive because we had to disregard that test because of the control was contaminated. And that would have been a legitimate claim.
Right, and they would have too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely they would have.
Yes.
Because any other time where they have inconclusive results, they just don't bother showing it. This one, it should have been inconclusive, but they show you it and they explain why it's perfectly fine that they're accepting it.
Right.
And the EDTA test is a lot more complicated, but it seems to have that same sort of thing that, you know, looking at what they got, if they wouldn't have gotten something that was favorable to the prosecution, they could have said, you know what, we didn't have enough time. We tried it and it was inconclusive, and just left it at that. And no one would have questioned it because if they looked at the data, they said, yeah, that's look at the crap they're getting out of there. That's garbage. You can't make any real solid um, conclusions out of that.
Hmm. So what do you think? Can I interrupt you real quick and ask you, what do you
Sure.
think, that it's possible that the blood did come from the vial, that maybe some more testing should be done on it? Because someone was asking a minute ago that, what you think about Zellner just like disregarding this and not testing it for EDTA.
Well, based on what they show, it looks like there was EDTA in there, but I mean, there's so much more that you can get out of this. But the fact that they had a few sources of his blood that were right on the salvage yard, um, to me, it tells me they didn't need to get it from this vial. They might have done something with that vial, but it doesn't look like they used it to plant anything, unless if they did, they swapped vials with what they found in the Grand Dam, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it doesn't. If they use blood from the vial, then they're kind of doing it the hard way because they had it in the bathroom, they had it possibly on that. Um, what was it? A flatbed truck. I think when there might have been someone there for when he initially cut himself on the. I
Mm-hmm.
think it was aluminum or something like that. They
Yeah.
had some things on there, and there was definitely some in his car, and like it wouldn't have been hard to take just one extra swab and use that to smear it around on a few places in the RAV4. It would have been pretty easy, and everything was right there. Cover of night, they could have done all that. I mean, the police had complete control of the thing. So personally, I'm not convinced that EDTA blood was used in the RAV. Um, Even though I look at all the all the EDTA tests and it's really bad, and I think that that's an issue all in itself, where they're presenting all this information and all this evidence based on a test which was incredibly rushed, not well validated at all, had misleading information on it, and it was just poorly done front to back. And it's almost like they didn't want it to be rock solid in case they didn't get the result they wanted. And that's how it appears to me.
Yes. I agree though that I think that there was other sources of blood that they could have used, and that would have been difficult, going to get it out of storage and not leaving any traces of that. Just all the other ways that they could have gone about it. I don't know what I believe. I think I lean more towards it was actually his blood from the sink, because how else does blood just disappear from a sink? Like the blood fairy
Yeah.
didn't swoop in while he was at Menards and clean it up for him. So that disappearing didn't happen from him. I believe that he's telling the truth because he's been saying it since the day he was arrested.
Yeah.
That blood was missing from his sink, and he thought that the police took it. But I definitely believe that somebody took that blood. Whether they used it or not, I don't know, but I do believe that somebody did take it. So where did it come from? For sure, I have no idea. Just know that it didn't come from Stephen actively bleeding, because you don't bleed blood flakes. So that should be the biggest red flag ever
Mm-hmm.
to me.
And the one blood smear that everyone has seen, the one by the ignition, that doesn't look like a finger pressed against there. It looks like a swab did.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. And I
And
did my own.
it's not even in a position where someone turning the key would be touching that. Like
Right.
despite
Well,
some of the videos that some people have tried to show where this is perfectly normal.
no,
It's
no,
like, what
no.
is wrong with?
Funny story. Michael Griesbach actually suggested that I try it myself if I didn't believe him. That
Oh yeah.
it happened naturally when he was trying to start the car. So he suggested I try it myself, so I did, and I got a couple of videos of me doing it and posted it so he could see on my channel. And he, of course, he had nothing to say. Well, that's still what happened. That was his argument.
Even
Well,
though it's not natural for you, it's natural for him.
yeah, and I promise Michael Griesbach, I'm pretty sure that I have bigger hands than Steven. I'm taller than him. He's a small guy. my hands are probably at least the same size, if not a little bigger. And I did actually intentionally try to rub my finger or just touch it, and I couldn't make it reach. I had to turn the key with 2 fingers and really try to reach, and it still wouldn't touch in the right spot to have left that mark. You know, even if I tried to touch it, but still I wouldn't have created that swoopy bird thing. It just wouldn't have looked like that because your fingers curl under when you start a car. They don't
Yeah.
extend out like you're crazy. Like, what are you doing? Everybody try this. Seriously, try to start your car with 2 fingers. It's not as easy as you'd think it would be. It's kind of hard to
Yeah,
turn the
you kind of grab it with the full hand.
Yeah, it's harder than you might think. So, yeah. Anyway, sorry.
That's okay. So I'm not going to look at every single bullet point I had on that thing because some of it's too tedious to describe, but there's a couple of major things that were huge issues for me with the with the way they conducted their validation. And one of the things they do in their validation is they took blood, let it dry on a surface, then they swabbed it up with a swab and cut a piece off and did their analysis the same way as if they had the same way that they would have for the swabs from the other place or from that were sent to them. The problem is they put their drops of blood on a clean glass slide. Now that's compared to the swabs that they got sent to them, which were taken from a probably not very clean um, plastic textured surface. And if you know anything about plastic, it can absorb stuff. You know, if you're using some cleaner on your dashboard, if you spray some stuff on there, sometimes you can see where the actual spray drops went. You know, you can see things that have been dropped on there, like some stain on there from years ago. That doesn't happen with glass. So it's comparing apples and oranges, really. Glass isn't porous; it's smooth. Anything you put on the glass, you're gonna be able to take off. Um, Something that's on a plastic surface, um, the plastic surface is going to absorb some stuff. You're not going to get full recovery of everything from there. Um, Now, I'm not saying you're not going to recover any EDTA, but a proper validation is going to control for that thing. So if I was designing this, I would take it from a plastic surface. The fact that they didn't tells me they were hoping that they weren't going to get very good results, or not similar results, or a way to explain away, well, we did it this way and maybe that's why it didn't work, or something like that. This is pretty basic stuff. Someone who works in forensics should understand this. I don't do this stuff in the kind of work that I do, but I mean, it's pretty damn obvious to me that if you want to extract something uh, from a sample, you've got to imitate everything that they did in order for it to be properly validated. And that's what validation is you're saying what I'm doing makes sense because this is what I got for my sample. So I'm going to try and do everything the same. So what I find in my test, if that works, then I can say everything I found in my sample that was sent to me is also good. And essentially, they just didn't do that.
Mhm.
Like it baffles me why they they tried to do everything but poorly.
Right. Um, Real Crime Stories said that they've made a video trying to start the car and being able, like, curling their fingers under and still swiping the dash.
Yeah.
I asked where they have that video posted. I'd like to see it. And also, like I said, if you get a moment at some point, if you want, I have actually 2 videos where the first one I did just naturally, and then once I posted that, I had people suggesting, no, you have to try to extend your fingers like you're injured and you are protecting them or whatever, so they're not curling under. So
Yeah,
I
I've heard
did
that too, and it's like,
I did actually try to touch it, and I did it like 50 times. You can see where I just keep trying and trying, and I can't make it work. So I'd love to see your video if you could let me know where I can see that. I'm honestly interested. Sorry about that. I'm gonna keep
no, that's
interrupting
fine.
you.
Gives me a break to catch my voice.
Do you want me to still leave this up?
Oh, I'm not sure what's up there. I'm on. I'm looking at my own sheet here.
Oh, okay. I still have the last link that you
Oh,
sent
that's the
me, but
last one. Oh, okay.
yeah. Or is there another one? Hold on. Let me look.
You can take that one down. It's just a bunch of numbers.
Okay. How did I got lost? Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything else from you yet.
Okay. Well, maybe if you could put up those that one sheet that had the um, that had the bullet points there, just because I was referring to a few of those.
Oh, the first one?
Yeah.
Okay, 1 second.
Okay. About halfway down, I mentioned something. It says in their spot LOD analysis, LOD meaning limits of detection, where they took a spot, put it on the glass slide, swiped it up, and that was their validation. A poor one, though. Um, they said that um, one of the spots that they were using was a 1 microliter spot. I looked at that, and on this, it's a grainy slide, but it shows the uh, 1 microliter, 5 microliter, and 10 microliter. Well, if you look at that, and I do have the picture here that I can send to you, there's no way that that it's a 1 microliter spot because it. Oh shoot! Now where is it? Okay, I found it here. I've got too many tabs open.
I do too. Like, you'd be surprised if you saw what I've got going on here. Real Crime Stories. If I don't know how you want to do this. You could put, if you want to put the link in the description or in the comments on the video, or if you want to email me, Allie@allieapperson.com. I don't I don't want to miss your response. But I would love to see this video that you're talking about.
I would too,
Okay, and
because
I'll share it with you if I get it.
yeah, every video I've seen of people trying to justify how all these things happen, it's like it just baffles you because you can't imagine that's how people normally hold a key or how they normally, get in and out of a car. It's like this is not normal.
Mhm. And even if you're, like, intentionally trying to do it and you still can't do it, like, I feel like that
Yeah.
that should, and
And
if you watch my videos, you'll see I am actually over and over intentionally trying to just make it touch in the right spot. I even drew a line on my finger where his cut was, and I realized, that there might have been blood dripping down to his fingertip or whatever, so that includes my fingertip just touching and swiping. It just doesn't happen, and especially not in that bird shape. It might go, like, down or something, but it doesn't go down and then back up. I just couldn't make it happen, even trying. I'm not saying that it's impossible. Like, for example, um, it might not have naturally happened from starting a car, but that's supposedly the theory of how it got there. It could have been from something else, just, rubbing his hand up on it. And I'm not saying that it's impossible if it's some situation like that. I'm just saying that the scenario that the state described is not, it's just not plausible. I just can't make it work. And I'm no expert, so if someone else can do it, cool. I couldn't. That's all.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that so many things in this case, they're presenting the things as, well, there's a small chance that it could have worked out that way. There's no, um, yeah, you'd think it would work this way, but you can't say it couldn't work out that way. So you're always including this minute chance that if
Mhm.
things happened, some weird circumstance made it happen another way. And this case is just full of these things, that where everything has to be some odd, low percentage way of things turning out.
Right.
And it's like, you know, if there's a minute chance that it did work that way, compounded with a minute chance of something else happening, and the minute chance of this and that, you've got almost extraordinarily implausible odds of things happen the way the state claims it did.
Right.
And that's goes back to what I said. It's not going to be one thing that proves this. It's going to be the accumulation of all the things that say, you know, we're being told that all these odd coincidences happened that make this obvious. And I'm like, no, that doesn't mean it's obvious. That means it's odd.
Yeah.
Okay, I found my thing. I'm gonna put it on your Discord thing, and you can share it.
Okay. Right. The laws of physics don't apply at every salvage yard.
No, they don't.
Apparently not. There's magic
We're
things
just kind
happening.
of
Oh my goodness, what in the world is that?
that is a slide, and you can see a little bit of it. There's one part, the bottom one, it says 10 microliters. The middle one, it says 5 microliters. And based on the caption there, the top one should be 1 microliter. Well, um, if the bottom one is twice the amount as the middle one, the top one certainly isn't 1/5 the amount of the middle one. Can you see the size differences? It just doesn't make any sense here.
Oh, I see. Those they're
Blood
blood
spots.
spots.
It's
Okay.
just a very grainy, ugly, like it's a photocopy of an actual picture.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That's
I've got
awful.
an actual photograph of various amounts on a slide, and I will post that now, just to show you how much 1 microliter does look like. If I can find it.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, sorry, Russell. That is a really, if that's the way they put it in the report, that's all we got.
Yeah, I was trying to. There's a bunch of really bad pictures, and for for quite a while, I was trying to find better examples of them, and like actual better recreations of the pictures, but I haven't been able to find them. Okay, so this picture here, you can put that one up. This is something I did myself. This shows the difference between 1 microliter and I think that I must have done 10, I guess. But 1 microliter is much smaller than what they're showing there. And because of the weight of the drop, 1 microliter doesn't really spread out like the other ones either. So that was another criticism I had on there, is their 1 microliter drop doesn't even look like 1 microliter. It's nothing I can actually prove, but I can just say, look at what happens when I do it. It doesn't look like that.
Yeah, that does look so different. Oh. Yeah, I'm switching back and forth between the screens trying to show. Let's see if I can make this work better. No, of course not. No. Where'd it go? I have way too many windows open. It won't let me. There it goes. Let's see. This one right here is supposed to be the 1, and
Yeah.
it looks like these down here are the 1. So that's a pretty big difference.
Mm-hmm.
That is a pretty big difference. Oh, good. All right. You know what? I give up. Too much. It's not working.
Yeah, get rid of that. So that's kind of a summary of the criticisms that I made of the EDTA test. And there was actually one more thing that came out that I've never really put on Reddit, and other people sort of brought it to my attention. Let's see. There's a picture. It's one more picture. Maybe I'll just put it in the in the live chat links, and people can look at it themselves. It has to do with the size of the blood tube, and I hadn't noticed it. I just, when I was writing things up, I was in the EDTA test. They were saying that they received a 10 mil blood tube from from the state, and I was basing everything on that, on the how much blood is in those, and the concentration of the EDTA in those tubes. And it was pointed out to me that the picture that we've probably all seen of the EDTA tube in the styrofoam box that they're looking at, I think it's Norm Gahn who's examining it. That actually isn't even a 10 mil blood tube. And I was under the assumption that that was the tube that was being sent to the FBI lab.
Okay. They linked us the video. I just put it to you. And,
oh, someone did? Okay, great.
Yeah. And I've seen that before. Now I know what they're talking about. They're talking about this. Oh, there we go. That little crease right there in your hand. And my camera is not going to.
Oh, that one?
Yeah, that one where they're trying to say that little crease right there made that. And I'm trying to figure out. So what did he do? He just like, barely touches, just barely touch that part to the thing, and just, because look at, try to touch that part in your skin. Try to touch that to a hard surface. If you barely touch it and it just squishes, so how does it not leave a whole handprint like this? Something bigger than just that little swipe. And also, it's very clear. I'm going to have to use a pen for this, but it looks like it goes like this. Like it starts here and goes whoop, and then starts here and goes whoop. It's not just some continual motion. It's two separate whoops like that.
Yeah,
like
it shows two directional smears.
Yeah, and it's clear where it starts and where it ends.
Also,
there's a tail.
Also, if you look at sites that talk about forensics with blood analysis, and a touch with an impact, it looks very different than a smear like that, and you can tell the difference.
Okay. I don't know forensics well, but from what I've seen, that seems to be the case. And I know that I did my own blood experiment, and I just used a paper towel that I had blood all over. I wet it, and I was able to just, fold it up and create a little crease like this, a little corner, a little, point, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
and use that and recreated those spots. So it doesn't even have to be a Q-tip. It could have been something like a paper towel or, a rag or a
Yeah.
t-shirt, something like that, just to
Anything with
create.
blood soaked into it could have made that,
Hmm.
but it doesn't
Yeah,
look like it was a finger or a part of finger on
right.
that.
It looks so much like a swab. I mean, that it just doesn't get better than that. It just looks perfectly like it would be a swab.
Can I point out one more thing?
Hmm.
The thing you're talking about with that part of your fist, if you just show that up there, put that on the screen.
This,
Yeah,
hold on. Let's see if I can get my camera to
okay.
focus
Yeah,
on
that,
me right
yeah.
there, like that.
Okay, imagine
Hmm.
that part of your fist.
One second.
Look back into the Discord chat and see how much stuff is around there. Like this blood was in this indented area. You've got the ignition sticking out on the one side. How can you even get that part of your hand in there?
No, if you've got your hand curled like that, there's no way it's going to touch the dash.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
don't have a RAV4, but I do have a 2000 Toyota, so it's not exactly the same, but it's very close. And I would imagine the distance is about the same. The dash is very similar. Um, and I couldn't touch this part of my hand while starting a car if I tried. If I'm extending my fingers like that, I still can't touch it except with maybe my fingernails. Um, it's just a little bit out of reach, like just a tad. If I was to let my finger off of the key like that, I could reach it.
But you're
But if
forgetting the main point.
oh, there you go.
The blood,
I forgot you were here, Laura. Oh my gosh.
the hand was upside down. It wasn't like this. It was
Right.
upside down.
yeah.
That Mark would have had his hand upside down, which I proved originally was fucking impossible. Because if you're using your left hand, they were saying he used his left hand or something, you would have to have your arm like that, which is like impossible. Why would you turn a key in? Or like this, you wouldn't turn the key like that. That's what made that whole thing null and void.
Yeah, the argument is that Stephen Avery did this, but he did everything in the most difficult and awkward way possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
Like it would have been much harder to prove if it was like this, but that line wasn't like that. That line was like that because
right.
that point was at the bottom, not at the top.
Right.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest reasons. I was like, I don't know how any guilter doesn't see that
I
because it would have been upside down.
You know what was absolutely hilarious? There was that podcast Double Loop. They did an AMA on Reddit.
Those are my boys.
Or those
I interviewed them. They're wonderful guys.
oh,
I was on their show as well.
they actually presented that bottom of the fist crease as a possible way that got on there. And I was like, I can't believe these guys are bringing this up. This is like what are they?
But let
Why
me
do
tell you,
they?
though, I can speak for them on this because they're my friends. I've spoke to them many times on this, not just on
Yeah,
interviews, but they never watched anything. They never delved into anything except for they watched Making a Murderer 1 and 2. That's it. That's the only thing they had to go on was just what they saw in the movie. They didn't see anything. They didn't read any documents. They didn't read anything with Zellner. They've done nothing with that. The only thing they did is watch the 2 documentaries and use their own knowledge. But they are absolutely fantastic guys.
well, they must have. I'm not sure who sent them that picture, but they used a picture with the bottom of the fist crease that I'd seen somewhere else before. So either someone sent them that and they thought, yeah, this is a good thing, or they went and found this themselves, because that was never on the on either of the documentaries at all. But they're presenting this as a plausible thing, and it's like you even said yourself, it's one of the least convincing things that we've seen. But they were presenting that to me as, here's how it could have happened, and I was actually shocked to see them do that.
But there's a lot of things that they did and they said that wasn't exactly accurate, and they know it, and they said it.
And I know that from what I got from them, they actually did not disagree with the experts that Zellner brought in. They just thought that Zellner went too far with her interpretation of that, but she's not the forensic expert. So they're arguing forensics when she was just doing the thing that lawyers do.
What was that?
Well, I was just pointing out that those double loop guys, they were kind of suggesting that Zellner's forensic stuff that she was presenting wasn't very good, but in fact, they agreed more with Zellner's forensic experts than the state forensics experts. And the one issue they had was that they thought Zellner's conclusions that they drew from them went too far. But they were not disagreeing with her experts at all, and her experts were actually showing that it's damn near impossible to get the blood, in those locations that they were found based on the state's arguments. And they were more in agreement with her experts with the blood splatter, and that's all in their chat.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have to speak to them. But I thought they did a fantastic job of presenting their side. But then when I interviewed them, they admitted that they've never seen anything except the movies or documentaries.
Okay. Oh, are you talking about the forensic guys that you had on? Okay. I never watched all of that. I should have watched it.
Really?
Yeah, because I was afraid I'd just get mad. That's the truth. I really was like, I missed it when it was live and I could have said something. Now, if I say something, it's just going to be in a comment that's like, they're not going to come back and look at this probably. And it's not like I'll be able to ask them questions. But I'm sure I would have had questions. I'm sure that I would have had comments for them. It's snowing here, by the way. I'm upset about this.
That's just wrong.
When I got up from my hour nap, we had the air conditioner on because it was warm yesterday. Now it's snowing. And it's like, really?
70 here.
Good grief. Whatever, man. 6-7 inches or something. It's supposed to be.
Damn.
Yeah. So yeah, I wish I had watched that, but unfortunately I didn't. They need more information though, than just watching documentary. Because I think there's a lot more to it that they need to consider.
Oh yeah, because so much has come out since
and there's
the original.
There's only so much you can squeeze into 10 hours or 20 total,
Sure.
but like, especially this forensic stuff like that, that's complicated. 700 pages about EDTA alone. You probably need information like that.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure I lost several days of my life out of that.
Oh, T, I think he already answered that question. What's the critical piece of evidence, in your opinion, needs to be busted to free Stephen Avery? He already answered that. And well,
Yeah,
we all
there's not one piece. It's gonna have to be a lot of things because, for one thing, the state isn't really showing a lot of things. Anything that doesn't look good for them, they're not showing. They were very selective on the kind of information they were showing right from the beginning, and we've seen that now, and it's just starting to come out. It's going to be a lot of things, because what killed them in the first wrongful conviction was the DNA test. So they took care of that. They made sure that they were getting his DNA in there. They're going to make it cut and dry, so they couldn't get burned like that. So now the job is to look at everything and show that there was a lot of things that were obviously planted. Nothing looks natural. There's too many things that are just presented as just odd coincidences well, I guess it just looks this way, and it's kind of something that you can't discount. But then everything is like that. Everything is an odd coincidence that, that's not how things work. Most things, in most cases, the guys looking in the trailer are going to find a key that's kind of stuck between the back and the and the and the side of the cabinet right away. It's not really well hidden. For it to end up where it is, it couldn't have been extremely well hidden. And like the pictures show that, there wasn't a lot of stuff in there. It's not going to be hard to find. But we're told that, well, it was hidden in a way that those guys couldn't find it until Andy shook it. Well, that's such a remote chance of being true that by itself, if that's the only odd thing, you'd say, okay, whatever. But every piece of evidence is like that. Everything is an odd thing. Oh, he was holding the key in a really odd way for some reason, and that's why the blood looks like that. Oh, he did something with he just happened to have a fire that nobody saw forever. And that's why we don't have people seeing it. He just happened to know exactly how much fuel to dispose of a body, and he got it done in one night, even though every other case where someone tries to dispose of a body, it takes them a few days, and then they get frustrated and just dig a hole and bury the shit. But he always meets that one little minuscule bit of chance that things just work out a certain way. And that's the case that we're being presented with. And then they call it a mountain of indisputable evidence. Well, it's disputable. I'm going to go out there and just say that.
Mm-hmm. Really quick, I just got an update. We are at 1181.55. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So the mods are posting the links if anybody would like to donate to the guys for their commissaries. That would be awesome. Thank you. And we'll keep giving updates throughout. Thank you, everybody. Please ask Rayxor, what are the chances that there was a blood draw in an empty vial and how long it would last?
Yeah, I just saw that. I'm not sure exactly what they're saying. The chances that there was a blood draw in an empty vial. Do they mean empty vial without EDTA?
I think so. I think that's what they're asking. How long would it stay liquid?
Well, when you go for surgery or something like that, you get different types of blood drawn. There's The EDTA tubes, those typically go for hematology tests. You can get ones where the blood is allowed to clot, and then you take just the liquid part of that, the serum, and then they do all the chemistry tests on that. So there might have been a sample at some point drawn off him for some reason that was a non-EDTA sample. I don't know if there was, but I know sometime after he was incarcerated, he did go for some kind of surgery, and I can't remember what it was, but there probably would have been non-EDTA blood samples drawn at that time. Now, I don't know where they went or what happened with those. I'm just saying that is something that would have happened at some point. So could be out there somewhere. But it wasn't ever part of any evidence or anything like that, so there's not going to be any paper trail for it.
Right. I would hope that they would have documented that if they did draw blood. Like you would hope.
Well, I mean, they didn't document the stuff that they should have particularly well, so chances of them documenting something they didn't have to, I'm not going to bet on that.
Right. And she's asking again, how long would it last if it was just loosely drawn into a vial with no EDTA?
Well, the contents in those blood vials will be sterile. So it will, and there would be a huge load of DNA. So, I mean, it could have lasted for many, many years and still being a source of DNA.
But it wouldn't stay liquid. It would, like, how long would it stay liquid?
It could, after a while, blood, when blood is drawn into a tube where there's no anticoagulant and it's allowed to clot, the blood actually has a system where clots will, over time, they'll disintegrate. And that's actually a normal process. It actually happens in your body because your body doesn't want blood clots to remain. Your body produces a blood clot to stop bleeding, to save you, and then over time it's going to eat away at this clot and get rid of it. And that's a normal process. So over time, you would probably end up with blood that has a clot that has fallen apart and it'll probably start to look a bit like blood that has sat for, say, a few years in an EDTA tube. You're not going to have any viable cells in there. A lot of them are going to be have died and broken open and stuff like that, and you're just going to have a bunch of junk, but it'll still look like blood. It'll still be dark red, and if you put a swab in it and smeared it against something, it'll look like a blood smear.
Russell's
oh my God, Ziggy loves me. That's fantastic.
She was the one asking the questions that you just answered. And Russell's asking, can Razor explain the difference in the blood vial sizes? I was told the one on Making a Murder was 5 milliliter vial, and the one the FBI received was a 10 milliliter, and they claimed they got 5.3. Did I miss it?
Nope, that's what a lot of people have figured out. In LeBeau's report, he actually states in there that they received a 10 mil EDTA blood tube with, I think it was like 5.5 mils or something. And the one in the styrofoam box, and I've spoken to, and other people have asked phlebotomists who do this work every day and see those tubes all the time, and they know sizes just by sight. they said there's no way that's a 10 mil. That's either a 3 or 5 or something. That's the range I got, a 3 mil or a 5 mil tube. Now, I don't know how they went from a 5 mil tube to getting to LeBeau getting a 10 mil tube with 5.5 mils of blood in it. There's something going on there, and I have no idea what the deal is there. It's confusing, and I haven't been able to figure it out, and that's why I haven't put it up on Reddit or anything like that. If I would have done it, but all I know is that something didn't happen that everyone assumes happened. The blood tube in the styrofoam box is not the one that went to the FBI. I'd love for other people to look into this and tell me why, but and if people want to message me and ask for proof of this, I can provide all that, no problem too. I would love to have more people looking at this, because me and the other people that discuss this, we can't figure out what the deal is with these two vials. And here's the thing, they wouldn't have taken a 5 mil tube and poured it into a 10 mil tube. That's just not how they deal with blood samples. So there's no reason why a 5 mil tube turns into a 10 mil tube. It's just where the people that I was talking about this, we're just perplexed. We can't figure out what the reason was for this, because it makes absolutely no sense. So I'm just going to look at some more.
Oh, no wonder. I'm sitting here talking and I'm muted. Well, I've got that figured out.
Oh.
Hi.
I saw you answered a few things too, so I thought that's what you're doing.
Oh, good grief. Okay. Yeah, my lack of sleep is catching up with me now. Okay, sorry. Kim Serber was saying that she'd like to talk to you offline about this stuff, and I gave her a link to Discord and told her that you're in there with us. If that's a good neutral place for people to come that would like to talk to you, unless you have somewhere else that you'd like to direct them if they want to talk to you some more.
The Discord thing is fine for now.
Okay.
I notice Mystical Jinxie, who I'm a big fan of. I talk to her about any time I want to find out about who this person is. She seems to already have done their family trees and stuff.
Absolutely, yes.
She said, I just want you guys to know that Avery was in the hospital for surgery shortly after he was arrested in, there it is, January 2006. So like very shortly after. And if he was in surgery, they quite often will take more than just EDTA blood. Someone who goes into surgery will commonly get blood matched in case there's a problem and they need to give him blood units. And they might also take blood that is in a tube that allows coagulation for that as well. That's how it was in years ago when I saw it being done in a hospital lab. I don't know if that's the case now, but I do know that they probably would have taken some sort of non-EDTA tube for someone going into surgery. Absolutely.
That's interesting. No, I'm not wearing a Green Packers jersey. It's an Australian. It's my Australian shirt. Yeah. People keep saying that. No, it's my Australia shirt. Sorry. It's the microphone's blocking the part that probably would give it away the most but I kind of need this thing. Yeah. The Hod sent it to me. I just got it yesterday, so I'm like super happy. It's like, well, I know what I'm wearing tomorrow or today. Let's see. Does anybody else have any questions for either? Thanks, Stephanie. Perplexed or Razor that we've missed. Hopefully we can come back to them, and if you can ask them again.
Oh, there's someone mentioning. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it says someone says I have a rare blood type. They always take extra blood for me. They've had 14 surgeries, and that's probably because their rare blood type. But what might have happened since they've had 14 surgeries? They might have been sensitized to various antigens, and they probably have to do a lot of extra work in their in blood bank just to make sure that they can match units of blood to them. That's my guess, but
Not yet, Russell.
but that's interesting. That's another thing I'm sometimes looking at is blood type reactions and stuff like that. That's kind of a side project that I'm working on. Nothing related to this.
Roll asked if you know about DNA.
I do know a fair bit about DNA. Way back when I was a student, I did take some molecular biology courses where we isolated DNA and did some work with that. I don't typically work so much with it now, but due to this case being of interest to me, I've read up about a lot of the DNA tests that they're doing, the STR analysis and the mitochondrial DNA. So I probably know enough that I could probably answer questions. I'm certainly not at the level of Olivia D2 on Reddit, who I always refer to for the tougher questions. Scooby on Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, she joins Ericoze from time to time, and we love when she's on there.
Oh, does she? Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've enjoyed all the discussions I've had with her.
Oh, it's great. She was on just like last week or earlier this week, even. It was earlier this week.
Is it possible that item BZ had more than 7 loci, but SC reported only the matching ones? I mean, it's possible without seeing the raw data. I don't know for sure. And that's the problem with a lot of things. If you don't see the raw data, you don't know what they're excluding, because they do have in their protocols, and you can see it in some of the profiles that they show. They might have something saying that it was a minor peak that was seen, but it was small or something like that. So they've got a cutoff of where they count something as being real or being, a contaminant or something. And it's kind of like what I was talking to you about, signal versus noise. With any assay, you have to have a cutoff where anything above this point you're calling a real result. Anything below that you're calling noise or contamination or just random things showing up. So maybe there was something and there's something that was low and she just said, well, it's kind of close to the cutoff and maybe I'm just not going to report it. I don't know.
Does anybody know, does Scooby have that raw data? I think she might, but I'm not sure.
I don't think anyone's seen the raw data on any of that.
Okay.
Like the raw data would be a weird printout that people wouldn't even be able to recognize. It would just be a bunch of lines on a chart.
Okay. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I thought
and there's other ones where we don't even see the shown profile. We just say that it matched, 7 of the 14 or 15 or whatever it is.
Okay.
Yeah, Roll says nobody saw the raw data. Scooby has tried to find it for years. I've looked too and didn't
Okay.
find anything.
I know she's got something that I don't think anybody else has that I'm aware of, is I believe it's the autopsy report. Where so she talks about the bones a lot. Is that right, you guys? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's correct. But all the times she goes on talking with Eric Jose, it's so interesting. We love it because she makes it really easy to understand and to follow. Where we can have a conversation now about some of this stuff that we normally would not have understood. And I love and appreciate that so much about all these experts who have this training and they can explain these things to those of us who don't or otherwise wouldn't have understood it, and why it's important. That's the part that I love to learn the most, is why is this important, and is what they claim true or not? Did they misrepresent something? Um, I feel like at least some of it we can see through the trial testimony, but which side is correct, I don't know. So it's always nice to hear from other people in that field. Uh,
I'm just going through.
Ziggy, we don't have anything. He's under the same name on Twitter, or I'm not Twitter, on Reddit, and also in Discord. So if people wanted to contact him and have a conversation, he's in Discord with us now.
Yeah, Discord's fine if you're on there, or anyone can send me a message on Reddit. I'm not always on there, but I check it on occasion because people are quite often asking me questions and stuff like that. There's a few people on Reddit um, that I still talk to about this sort of stuff, but I haven't sort of dove into anything new in the past while.
We gotta get Laura drawn back in here. She's just kind of sitting there hiding behind
Okay,
her picture. Do you guys
I'll
have
take a
any?
break.
I'm
Oh,
eating a cookie.
jump in and join the like we'll just chat and answer some questions together with the chat for a little bit. But I still would like to come back to you if hopefully we got an hour and a half left. Hopefully there's enough time if you want to get into the stuff about the burn pit. That's awesome. Okay, so she's eating.
Oh, she's
If you want to,
eating.
yeah.
Oh,
So if
okay.
you want to do that now,
I
Well, I
mean,
can just. Sorry.
she's eating.
Oh,
She
okay.
said, yeah.
I can talk a bit about the burn pit stuff just off of memory. There's there had been quite a few posts very early on about the burn pit, and at one point um, I did a calculation based on some of the links that other people had included, and I figured, well, the best information about an open pit cremation is from these places excuse me, these places in India where people will bring a deceased relative and there's like a temple and it's all along the river, and people will buy a certain amount of wood for their cremation. So they've got actual specific amounts that people use, and so um, and I read up on a bunch of these things, and typically these cremations that they do, they don't necessarily always fully cremate the body, and whatever's kind of left at the end, they will shovel off with the ashes into the river, and then this river has snapping turtles that will take care of anything that's not fully burnt, which is kind of disturbing, but it's interesting information. So what it tells you is that the amount of fuel that these people are purchasing for these cremations isn't quite enough. So um, what that told me is that, you know, they're probably sell, selling less, a little bit less than necessary fuel, just so that they can get um, more people's money out of their fuel supply. And so when I did some more reading, and I found the ranges of fuel that they used. So um, I used these values, converted the amount of heat energy that they would generate from the fuel, and converted that to the amount of heat energy in the number of tires, and I came up with a number that was substantially larger than what the state was saying had been used in Avery's fire pit. And there was a range that they had there too. Like there were some reports I heard that they said like there was probably at least 2 and as many as 6. Well, the number that I got for the amount that someone who knew what they were doing, these people at these temples that are doing this all the time and can properly construct a pyre for this, they're using the equivalent of like, it was something like 19 tires. And and so the comparison is Stephen Avery, who's trying to do this according to the state. He's trying to do this, you know, without people knowing, without proper construction of a funeral pyre, and according to his own computer records, with absolutely no research on this, and he did it just right with not enough fuel. That's what it came down to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And based on a lot of the other cases where people have tried to destroy bodies, just like apparently Stephen Avery would have been doing, they're trying to do this rush because police are coming, people are gonna get suspicious, so it's all done rushed. And then so what they do is they have a body, they throw a bunch of fuel or wood or tires or do whatever, and they start it on fire. Fire goes out, body's still there. So they do it again, and it takes days to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very consistent.
Right.
So people are just rushing. They're trying to get rid of this because they're panicking.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Stephen wasn't panicking. He just knew what to do right from the beginning.
Right. Because
he knew exactly what to do, exactly how much fuel. Well, actually, he didn't have enough fuel, so that's part of the story. And and the funny part is that some of the best information on people attempting to completely destroy and get rid of a body after a murder or something like that. A lot of that information came from a guy who turned guilter, and now he's arguing against it.
That's funny.
That's on Reddit. That's Canuck64. And on
I've
Twitter,
heard that name. Okay.
And on Twitter, he's Thomas Hentz.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And people have a lot of fun with him, pointing out that he did a better job of arguing for Avery being framed than for him doing the crimes, because he at least had the science behind him before.
Right. I mean, here's a side question, but do you know what changed his opinion?
Oh, I have no idea.
Because he's one of the few guilters, I guess, that I've been able to have a nice, respectful, civil conversation with. Him and Falcon are my two that I really enjoy talking to.
Oh yeah, and I remember him back in the day when I chatted with him a little bit in personal messages, and when he was still on the truther side, and yeah, he made a lot of sense, and it shocked me to find out that I see it now on Reddit, but on Twitter he was that's the same guy that's the guilter, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And yeah, because I take a lot of screenshots of stuff that I've collected, so I've got screenshots of him making very good arguments for Stephen not having destroyed a body in his fire pit. And it's just amazing that the same guy is saying, like, he absolutely burned the body in his fire pit.
That's interesting.
It's hard to imagine it's the same person.
Andy Newton said that his opinion changed after Zellner's first motion when he decided that Zellner couldn't explain away Avery's blood in the RAV4.
Well, it seemed to change his whole way of thinking about evidence completely, because
yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I ever knew that he was a supporter in the beginning. I don't really go on Reddit.
What are you talking about?
Hence, Thomas Hence.
Hence said he was that he believed he was innocent in the beginning.
Yeah,
not.
I didn't know that. I've only seen him as a guilter, so. But
I'm just gonna find some of his posts here because I'm sure I've got them saved somewhere.
He comes on to Eric Jose's lives sometimes and debates with us. And
the theory role that one's innocent and one's guilty is the dumbest theory ever, because without Brendan, they couldn't have gotten Stephen. And so to think that Brendan's innocent but Stephen's guilty is ridiculous.
Even worse,
Brendan. I mean, they nailed Stephen because of Brendan. I hate when people say dumb stuff like that.
Well, even worse is the Bernards who think that Brendan is guilty but Stephen is innocent. That makes the most
dumb
opposite of sense I've ever heard in my life of anything, probably. But him and I have been going back and forth for years about how silly it is.
Let me remind you of something, Bernard. I can't even talk to Bernard. Let me remind people of something. Is that Brendan laid the groundwork for Stephen's trial. That's why they needed Brendan. That's why they needed somebody to put together the story. That's why Brendan was targeted, because they needed someone not the brightest to fall into their trap. And whether Brendan saw something or not is not even here nor there. But the fact that they needed somebody with a low IQ that they can brainwash, that they can convince this whole story happened. They fed it into him. They made him say it. Then they had a story. Then Mr. Ken Kratz goes on a press conference for the most illegal, immoral, unethical press conference in the history of press conferences, and states very clearly exactly what happened. That sealed Stephen's fate. So anyone that says that one thing has nothing to do with another, or that Brendan is innocent and Stephen is guilty, in my opinion, is a fucking idiot. So sorry, Bernard, if shoe fits, wear it. Go on.
I haven't seen Hence lie. I'm not going to say that that's not the true statement, but I haven't seen it personally. But I feel like there's same with Falcon. Like there's some good arguments there, but then it's like they're missing the flaw in that argument. The missing piece is what destroys it. On its own, their argument sounds very intelligent and well spoken, like Jamie said, but it's that missing piece when you put it in there. It's like, no, it just blows it up, and it messes the whole argument up. Then you can't cherry pick it like that. If I ever do that, I want someone to point that out to me because I'm open-minded and, you know, honest. Definitely never trying to mislead someone, but I'm not, you know, slanted. I honestly don't care one way or the other what the truth is. The truth is all I would like to find, no matter what it turns out to be. And I've just never, you know, seen anything that suggests that one is involved at all, let alone one is involved and the other one's not. When, you know, they might not have been attached at the hip, like Bernard said. I agree with that, but they were together that night.
I have a confession, Allie.
What's that?
Fluff and Nutter Butter did it.
Oh, no, I don't believe it. Oh, Laura, real quick. People were asking, they would like to hear about your call with Ken Kratz where you got to ask him a question. That was hilarious.
Thank you, Winky. Okay, so my call with Ken Kratz was Ken was going on some stupid radio show, and I called in like a half hour before, and I kept dialing. Finally got a hold of him, and I was the only one that seemed to have been able to call. But I asked him point out blank, what? Like the only question that I really had, which made no sense to me, was why in the fuck did you need her vibrator? Nobody in the history of forensic science takes a dead woman's vibrator as evidence and carries it around. I mean, and the reason why I say carried it around, because they brought it back to Stephen's house. Why? It was the most craziest, dumbest, illogical theory ever. If they were to have it and bring it right to evidence, if they took it and went right to evidence, I could give it a little more credibility, but they didn't. They took it, and then next thing you know, it was seen at Stephen's house or something. Mm-hmm. And I asked Ken, why would you need a vibrator? Like, it just didn't make sense. And he answered it, and then he got really defensive, and then he didn't want to answer it anymore, and then he got all pissy. Then he goes on the show, and I was on hold, so I would listen to it while I was streaming, but I was also on hold. And then they ended up hanging up, and then all of my viewers kept calling in, and they, you know, the girl ended it, and she was like, there's no, what did she say? There's no callers calling in. And Ken was like, oh.
Yeah.
And then I tried getting a hold of him again. Ken, I'd love to interview you. And he never got a hold of me. He hates me.
Yeah. He won't talk to anybody with any kind of intelligence or good, valid question. But I did notice, like, it not only did they use it, you know, why would you want it? But they asked for it specifically to be collected. Like, they listed, like, here's your list. Go get those pieces of evidence. Get the vibrator, get the chapstick, get the hairbrush, whatever they said. Like, all of those things.
Go get all these sources of DNA that we might be able to use for something.
Right? I don't know.
Yeah, it was Sharon says you were so funny giving your own name on the radio, because I froze when she asked me my name. I'm like, Laura? I totally froze. I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie, I was nervous but I also didn't know how long they were gonna let me talk to him. I would have liked to ask a couple of questions, and they were only like letting me have one, and then that was it. So maybe I shouldn't have gone for the throat, but I mean, that's me.
Yeah, of course, because you get one question with Kratz before he realizes what's happening to him. Exactly. And then he's like, nah, I'm done. Didn't he say something like, I thought we weren't going to do this?
Yes.
You know, like, I thought you were going to screen the damn calls better than this and not let anybody come through that has a valid, honest question from the other side. Like, we're not going to have a discussion. And you were respectful and polite, and he still didn't want to, even though, like, he still wouldn't engage with you. And that's exactly what he said. As long as you come at me respectfully, which is what Casey said. Yeah, she proved that's a bullshit, because she did come at him respectfully. I read those tweets she tried to get him to answer, and he just ignored every one of them. Of course he did. He can't answer these questions.
Bernard, I'm going to answer what you just said, and I'm not a hypocrite at all. I said that I think it's possible that Brendan did say something. That he saw something. But what I was talking to Roll about, he didn't see toes in a fire, but going on the theory that Bobby and Mike O killed Teresa, then yes, I do believe that Brendan saw something. And one thing, Brendan, Bernard, I can think of your name. One thing, Bernard, you've known me for what, 3 years now? Anyone here that knows me for a long time, I own my shit. I don't know why people try to call me a hypocrite, Bernard, or try to like think that, you know, they're gonna catch me in something. I own it. So just ask me, like, what do you mean by Brendan saw something? You're never gonna catch me in a lie or me not own something, but just have me explain it if you think I said something wrong.
Yeah, the way I understood it always was that she says that she at different times she says, well, he might have seen something, but I don't think she's ever said, I think he was actively involved in helping to kill Teresa.
No,
right? Okay, just making sure.
I absolutely don't think it killed her, but I do think, and I've said this for probably about the last year, that if going on the theory that Mike and Bobby killed her, then I believe Brendan must have seen something. And I know there's a lot of Brendan lovers in here, so don't take this wrong.
Me.
I don't think Brendan could be completely innocent, saw nothing, if Bobby and Mike are the killers. If Bobby and Mike are not the killers and it's somebody else on the outside, I don't think Brendan saw anything. But if my theory is correct that it was Bobby and Mike, then I do believe he saw something.
Why? Like, I think that's one of the things you and I have gone back and forth. Like, why would Bobby and Mike being the killers mean that Brendan would see something? Like, why would they bring him into it to where he would be brought into it? You know, if anyone that knows Brendan knows that he's easily manipulated. So why would they trust him to keep that secret if someone could easily get the truth out of him, if that's what you want to call it, the truth, if he did see something?
Here's what's
You know?
always bothered. I don't know how to answer that directly, but here's what always bothered me. And I don't care how many people tell me I'm wrong and she lied, and I don't buy it. I do believe that part of what Kayla had said originally has validity to it. I don't think her entire story is valid, but I do believe that some of what she told that worker ahead of time means something. What parts of it, I don't know. But the fact that she even went to a guidance counselor out of nowhere and talked to her about whatever she spoke to her about. Now, do I totally believe the guidance counselor's version of everything? No. But there's, for her to just go to a guidance counselor implicating that Brendan saw something, and that it implicated that Brendan not only saw something, but that, you know, it bothered him to the point he lost weight, or, you know, he wasn't feeling right. There's absolutely no reason for her to do that before the cops ever got involved. So, you know, with Brendan wasn't even on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is, you can't deny that. Now, again, I don't know everything that was said. I don't believe that, you know, she said, oh, she saw Brendan in a fire and blah, blah, you know, the body in a fire, because I don't believe the body was burned in a fire. So there's just little things like that that have always stuck with me. And I've always felt like, you know, when she was talking, she never once mentioned Steven, or in the original document, she never really mentioned Steven. It was always about Brendan. And that's why I think there's some credibility. And that's what always made me think that there's something to this. I don't know what, I don't know how much, but there's something to this. That's why.
I guess my response to that would be that I can't pretend to get into Kayla's head and know why she said what she said to her counselor. I believe that she did say things to her counselor. Where did she get those ideas? Personally, I think it probably had something to do with all the stuff being seen on the news, all the family around her talking about it, about, oh my gosh, did Steven do this? The police are telling us that he did it. He must have done it. to the point where like Brendan is even in his chat messages are questioning, I don't know if he did it. If he was with him, he would know if he did it or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but like Marie had just said, let me back up. Maria had just said that it's not out of nowhere. Everyone was already gossiping. They were gossiping about Steven. They weren't gossiping about Brendan.
Right.
And everything was focused on Steven. Did Steven do this? Blah, blah, blah. Brendan wasn't on the radar yet. So that's what I'm saying. For her to go to the guidance counselor about Brendan specifically, to me, was a red flag. Brendan may know something.
To other people on.
You know, I believe she was talking about having nightmares about blood coming up from the floor of the garage and stuff like that. So if you think about all the stuff that she said that was in her statement, she mentioned blood coming out of the floor in the garage. Would they do the jackhammer the garage to find it? She is the one that brought up a body being in the fire behind Steven's house or trailer. And what did they do? They fed that information to Brendan, and you know they gave him that information. He didn't give it to them when they asked, and that's basically where part of his confession comes from, is the stuff that Kayla said. For whatever reason, it was given to Brendan to incorporate along with their stuff that they believed was evidence into what became his confession over time. So I don't believe a word of it. I don't. I also, not done to mention the fact that I'm stuttering. I'm so like, well, not to mention the fact that not one word of it can be proven by any evidence. You know, so I just don't believe for a second that Brendan actually saw anything, or even told her that he saw anything.
Now, again, my theory is only based on if Mike O and Bobby are the killers. If they're not the killers, then it doesn't matter. My theory is moot. But if they are the killers, I do believe Brendan saw something.
I think that it's possible they could be the killers and Brendan not have seen anything. Blaine didn't, you know, like nobody else did. If Mike and Bobby are the killers, Steven didn't see anything, Barb didn't see anything, Blaine didn't see anything, Brian didn't see anything. So there's still a lot of people that were also there that didn't see anything. Why did Brendan get dragged into it? I don't know. That's something that only Kayla can answer. Why did she say that? Where did she get that idea? Maybe because she knew that Brendan was with Steven that night, and she, you know, assumed from all the things that the police were telling them that he saw things related to what the police were describing had happened. And then this becomes I lost my train of thought. Sorry. I was reading Bernard's comment. Sorry.
Russell, that's a hard question because unlike a woman, you can't tell if a guy is a virgin or not, or loses his virginity.
You can tell by how they talk about it.
What?
You can tell by how they talk about it.
What was the question?
He says, a bizarre thought, Russell said, a bizarre thought and said, do you think BD is a virgin even though he was charged with rape?
Oh, I do. I've never seen a more innocent soul and probably ever. Like, still to this day, like literally to this day, the things that Brendan, the way that he talks, the way that he thinks are still very childlike. And, you know, I mean, do your young children think about raping a grown woman? I mean, that's just not something that they would do. I don't think that my first experience with, if I was a young boy, my first experience with a woman would be raping her. You know what I mean? Like I just don't see that. Not in such a kind, gentle soul like Brendan. I just don't see it. Not at all. No matter what, there is just not one single thing that ties Brendan into this. assuming that he saw something is just not, that's not proof. I don't care who the killer is. If the killer was Steven and Brendan was with him, there is still nothing that proves that he helped him do anything, that he was involved at all.
The problem with this case, though, is we're going to debate about this till doomsday, because I don't think Zellner's ever going to name a killer, even if they're out scot-free. I don't think Zellner's ever going to really name a killer, and I don't think the police are ever going to go after a killer.
She already did.
Even when they're out, even when they're long out sipping pina coladas on the beach, we're still going to be debating about who actually did it. I really believe that.
She already did.
Sorry.
I think Russell Gatton has a fixation on toes. I think he
he's picking up. I think everybody knows how I feel about Brendan. He's my heart. I love him. He's my motivation. I think about him every single day for the last 3 years. That an innocent child, because my youngest was, when I first started this, was 14. So all I could see was my youngest son. And I just imagining him in an adult prison with actual criminals where he could be in danger. God knows what could happen to him there. It gives me nightmares. That's my fuel and my motivation is I know Brendan didn't do this. There is nothing that says he did. So he does not belong there. And every single moment that he's in prison, he's in danger. So that's my fuel. So I do. That's the one thing. That's my button. Please don't ever push it. You'll be crazy if you do, because I'll go off.
But I understand, nobody said that Brendan was a murderer or anything else, or even had anything to do with it. But I do semi-believe that, I not even semi-believe, I do believe that if there's a big if in front of that, if Bobby, all right, I'll even rephrase that, if anybody in his family, or if she was killed on the property because it had to do with his family, if Brendan was a go-getter, go get this, or go get more firewood, or go get something.
Mm-hmm.
If Bobby and Mike are the killers, or even Steven, which I don't believe, but even if it was Steven, anyone on the property, if it was Blaine, if it was Barb, if anyone on the property killed Teresa, I believe Steven knows something. I mean, I believe Brendan knows something. And
Just
Steven might know something as well.
Because Kayla said so?
No, but it's always stuck in my mind about Kayla. That I can't tell you why, but it just always did. And again, it only works if they're the killers. If they're not the killers, the point is moot.
I do have one thing to say about Kayla. I have to give her props, like freaking high five, girl. Out of everybody, it took another child to have the guts to tell the truth and admit that they lied on the stand, right there with them questioning her and trying to lead her where they want her to go. She admits that she lied and made it up. So not another person has had the balls to admit that still to this day, that yeah, I lied on the stand, or I lied in my interviews. So I have to give her props for that, standing up for what's right. Oh, hi.
Can a mod moot another mod? Damn, I can't. Nope.
What is happening?
I can't mute Stacy.
What is happening?
What? No, me and Stacy were joking around.
Oh no, I was talking about Bernard.
Oh. Hey, Patty.
Okay, Bernard.
Patty says hi. Check the
Bernard.
Pizza. Open the oven.
Bernard, you're messing with. You're in the wrong place to go after Brendan. This is not the place to do it.
Is it brown on top?
But you're welcome to disagree, as long as you don't go after Brendan personally. He's not a con artist. He was a 16-year-old developmentally delayed child, disabled child. I mean, he's a child. He's not a con artist. He's not a hardened criminal. He was just a kid. And yes, if I have to be completely honest, he was very susceptible to being manipulated by whoever, whether that be Steven, whether that be Bobby and Mike, whether that be the police, because we have it on video. He was manipulated very easily. So whether that could go the other way, yeah, it could. If one of those people was actually involved in Teresa's murder, could they have manipulated him into helping? Yeah, they sure could have. But I don't think that they could manipulate him into keeping his mouth shut if the police were to question him honestly to try to actually find the truth, and they would have let him speak his truth. If they would have gone at him actually seeking the truth, they would have gotten out of him that he was lying and covering for Bobby or Mike or whoever. They wouldn't have gotten this lie that they fed him. So yeah, they could have gotten the truth out of him. So that's another thing that tells me Brendan would probably be the last person I would trust to keep their mouth shut and keep a secret. He would not be used as a gopher, or go get the wood for the fire so we can burn the body in the backyard. I just not for a second do I believe that.
Hey, I got a question. Vanessa just brought it up, and I don't know, because again, I haven't followed the case that much anymore. So Tracy said that Zellner had access to test the RAV over a period of a couple of months and didn't. Is that true?
I haven't heard that. I've not heard that before.
Okay.
She's asked for it and been turned down. I don't know that she's like, they've offered to give her certain things at different times, but not the actual RAV4 that I'm aware of.
But that's why I wasn't sure. I didn't know if I missed something because I really haven't been following. But I'm like, nah, I would have someone would have told me about that.
Yeah, J-Jax, you're right. J-Jax said 8 out of 9 adults, 8 to 9 adults went after and used Brendan. It was allowed to happen, and I think it's still happening.
Oh, Tracy said that this morning, that KZ dropped the ball. See,
really?
where's Andy now? Andy, put up your dukes.
Well, I'll have to go find out. That was when I was attempting to get some sleep, so I didn't hear it.
Text Tracy and see if that's true.
Last I heard, she was taking a nap.
She did, but it didn't get filed with the court. Tracy states that they gave her access, but she didn't bring it up to the judge. Why?
I think what happened there is that she had an agreement with the state to get access to that and to the RAV, and I think she assumed that the court was aware of this and that there would be further proceedings regarding this, but the court quickly went and made a ruling based on a deadline that was set before that agreement to do more testing, and that's why they're saying that she dropped the ball. I don't know.
Okay.
That's my understanding of it, is that there was an understanding between Zellner and the state that further testing was going to go on, which would have meant that the deadline that they had previously set wouldn't be applicable, but the court went ahead and ruled on it anyway. It kind of, some people are saying, well, she dropped the ball, but I think it kind of probably shocked her because there was supposed to be more going on.
Right.
But I don't know specifically what's going on. That's just my understanding of it. I don't have any kind of background in legal issues.
Right. So everybody's saying that is true. And I'm sure that you're right. It's probably just one of those little details like I just have forgotten or never really paid much attention to because it didn't happen. So, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
research why it didn't happen. Like, there's nothing I can do with it. So
Yeah, and then it just turns into like a he said, she said thing.
yeah.
That's crazy, though. I mean, that's huge. We've been waiting on this testing on the RAV4 forever. Like, and we kept saying that she didn't have access, and now she has access for a couple months and didn't do anything. Somebody then said that they told her basically she had she either had to test the RAV4 or the bones or something, but they wouldn't give her an ultimatum like that. That's illegal.
I don't know. Well, we should ask Tracy when she's on, which
Get her
we
up.
should.
Come on, get her up. Tell her we have 121 people that are dying to know this answer.
Let me look and see, when is Tracy back on?
Say, Tracy, get up, get up, get up. Come on, nobody recorded this?
What?
In drama community, we record everything. You name it, it's recorded.
So
there's no someone can't come back to you later.
This is perfect. Actually, Tracy is coming on and within an hour.
Yeah, tell them come on early. No, and I have my own live to do later.
Well, she will be, like, for the last 15 minutes that I'm on here. Okay. We just have to remember to ask her to explain that. She'll be on with me for 15 minutes. So,
who's going after you?
Tracy is.
Oh, so you're like alter and like she's coming in 15 and then she's doing hers?
Yeah. Yeah, she'll come in for the last 15 of mine, and then I'll probably go and join her for like 15 minutes on her channel. So we'll all just run over and join Tracy. So before I forget, I need to put...
Marty McFly knows. See the receipts. You got to have everything recorded.
Exactly. See, that's one of those things. So if I'm understanding this right, it sounds to me like she could have asked for it, but she didn't. And then the judge went ahead and ruled before she did. And then she lost her chance. Am I understanding that correctly? Because if that's true, I remember something like that happening, but I don't remember the specific what it was that she missed out on. But I do remember that happening.
KZ filed the original PCR way too early. It cost her, and it will continue to. She made a lot of mistakes that's going to cost her. I really believe that. Nobody's going to change my mind on that. Jamie, you're a good person. Yeah. So I just want to give a shout out too for a couple of people in here. My main crime channel will be back for lives in like 2 weeks. I think May 5th it comes back. So awesome. At that point, I'm separating. My second channel is going to be really just drama channel. And then my first channel is still going to be, this channel is still going to be all true crime. So awesome. I just want to let you guys know that. Because a lot of people think I gave up crime to go to drama, which I really did. And I got pulled into drama. So now that my main channel is going to be back in 2 weeks, I'm just going to separate it.
That's good. Yeah.
Can I jump in here for a bit?
Yeah.
Allie, I sent you a couple of images over Discord there. And these were just things that I had mentioned before. Some screen captures that I had of that Canuck 64 was saying. And it's funny because I have to give credit to him, because a lot of the stuff that I use for doing my calculations for the number of tires, a lot of that stuff I got from earlier posts from him.
So he says, very true. Just an FYI, for a Hindu cremation, it takes 1,100 pounds of thick wood with the body laying above, 3 feet of carefully arranged 10-inch thick logs, 26 pounds of butter between the logs and body for additional heat, and straw the finish, the bones. I'm not sure what that means. It takes 3 to 6 hours to cremate the body and a lot of labor. I just don't see that happening in that little burn pit. Wouldn't be the first time Dr. Eisenberg misidentified non-human bones for human bones. She did it only a month later at another burn pit. Right? That was crazy.
Yeah, so that was something that I got from him.
And then there's another said.
And they're all very, very good points. And now he's saying, oh, that's just all wrong. It's funny. And there was a second one. Do you see the second one I posted there?
Yeah, I can't open the image, but I'll post the screenshot.
Miss Chris said it was denied because the judge ruled against Stephen's original motion before the court, claiming ineffective counsel. What does that mean? They don't need court approval. The state agreed. Then she not just testify for it in an evidentiary hearing is granted. See, Kim, I thought the same thing. I thought they can test it at any time. Where's Tracy? Tell her to come on early.
Oh, she'll be here. She's probably just waking up and getting ready to go.
These are all Tracy questions. Will
So
the crime channel have F-bombs? Come on, Julie. You know me better than that.
All right. What part of this did you want to talk about?
Oh, this is just another Canuck 64's post where he was talking about he talks about Dr. Eisenberg describing the condition of the bones as being the highest level of destruction possible, level 5. Like basically what this means is that these bones were the equivalent of something that came out of a professional cremation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And, that's the sort of thing that, and this relates to how people argue it. They're saying, well, it only takes an hour for the body to be destroyed beyond recognition. Well, that's not what she's talking about there. She's talking about being the highest level of destruction. That's where the bones are completely devoid of organic material whatsoever, to the point where you can't get DNA from it. It's just the calcined remains. Guilters will often cite things from forensic experts that say, "Oh, it gets destroyed pretty well after an hour," and they're talking about apples and oranges again. And it's another thing that comes up with the way the guilters will argue about these cases, is that they'll bring something up that doesn't actually support what they're saying. And you won't know this unless you know specifically about what they're talking about. They often, at one point, someone wrote to a forensic expert, Elaine Pope, who's like one of the people that works on the body farm, where they do all sorts of work with burned bodies, and they asked her, like, how long will it take to burn a body? And she says, oh, you can destroy it quite well after an hour. But what they don't ask her is, how long does it take to cremate a body? And the real answer,
right,
and the one that is important to this case, because Eisenberg said that it was destroyed as much as you can get it. That's like 6 to 8 hours.
Mm-hmm. Did you happen to see Johnny Jack's bonfire with the llama bones?
I might have a long time ago.
He had 2 bonfires, huge ones, huge, massive bonfires, and he like blew it with a leaf blower to keep it really hot. It had extra amazing amounts of fueling it, keeping it burning really hot. And this was in the second fire that he put those bones through. And no matter how he had them, like if they were in, some of them were in a metal box kind of thing, some of them were just loose, and it didn't matter. The destruction wasn't anywhere near what Teresa's bones were. And that was in the second bonfire. So like, sorry, but no, those bones burned for a long time in a massive, massive fire. It's just impossible. And I know we're talking about a llama compared to a human. I don't know the details on how similar those types of bones are as far as burning them down, but
it won't be all that different when it comes down to a fire. Bones are bones.
Yeah, they're nowhere near, and
And
it's
that's the part that takes the longest to destroy. The soft tissue will burn up and liquefy and everything like that, and the fat will melt.
mhm.
But after a couple hours, all you're left with is going to be the hard tissues, the bones and the teeth, and to drive all the moisture and destroy all the organic material out of that. That's the part that takes the extra several hours, and that's the important thing. Is that in this case, we are presented with a body that is burned to that level where you can't even get a full DNA profile from it. So you're going to need all that incredible amounts of heat and all those things like uh, who were you talking? Was it Johnny Jacks?
Johnny Jack, yeah, Ripper.
Oh, okay, Ripper. What he was doing. He's doing the stuff that we are told happened basically just by someone who didn't put much effort into this, who just threw a body overnight into his fire and poked it with a stick and had a few tires, and that's it.
Right. I'm going to say the burn pit was 5'4". So, and I've been there. I've seen it. It's very small. It's a lot closer than it looks in the pictures to the propane tank. It's a hell of a lot closer to the backside of the garage. Plywood. You know, it's just I'm sorry. It's not possible. Johnny Jack was talking about that massive ass fire. He couldn't get anywhere near it. It was just too hot to get close to it. And it isn't possible for Stephen to have had a fire anywhere to that degree in that close range to those things. It just isn't possible. It is amazing when you see it in person. It is just amazing how much different things look, and you see.
You should have laid down in it and had someone take a picture of you.
Right. It was very very high with grass. Like they had let it for some reason.
It's been.
Yeah, but they had just mowed the rest of the yard, but where the burn pit used to be, it was really built up with grass. Like they're just not messing with it. They're not touching it.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know if that's intentional or not, but that was in 2016 when I was there.
Hey, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is real crime stories? Are you really Tom Hanks? Just saying.
So Jay Jack said Stephen had a current appeal before the court before KZ filed. When KZ filed, Flowers denied Stephen's original motion, which denied KZ as well, along with her agreement with Fallon. The agreement on the RAV4 was in place if the court allowed it. Okay. Yeah, you know what? I don't remember the details, but thanks for that information. If you guys can remind me, Tracy should be on in about 30 minutes with me or a little less, hopefully, and we can ask her to go over that with us.
I don't know. Real crime stories sound a lot like Tom Hanks on Twitter. I mean, on Reddit. Just saying.
Laura.
Oh, someone mentioned the rug doctor.
Just saying.
That damn rug doctor. I have a rug doctor. It's broke right now. I think Wisconsin came and stole it from my home one evening and returned it broken. It's funny.
Oh, someone asked me a question. It was a while back, and I wrote it down. Russell Gatton, maybe. They were asking it who I thought killed her, and all I can say honestly is that I don't know. I work in science, and that's based on having enough evidence to point to anything. And the way this was investigated, where so much was ignored, I can't make any kind of guess at who might have. What I can say is that there's there's several people who seem to know something about this, or how things were being hidden from the public, and were acting very strange. And those are obvious names like Ryan, Bobby, and Scott, and even Teresa's brother. They all acted very odd, and so you could tell what they were saying was a story that they were told to tell. That's how it appears to me. And that doesn't necessarily point to them as being guilty of anything. Maybe they were just being used by the police to cover up certain bits of information. But how she died, I don't know. She might have died by accident, and the local police decided, we're not going to let this just get away from us. We're going to make this work for us, and get rid of this problem person. And that's how it looks to me. I can't say one person or another.
Right. I agree. It is hard to say, like, if you, but the overall picture is that Stephen was the target from whoever framed him, and also from the police perspective, like who they're after right away.
Oh
They
yeah.
made it very, very clear he's the target. Um, I don't know.
Everything was made to look like it's this guy.
Mhm.
And they argued it with very weak stuff. The whole luring thing. It's like he phoned her using a fake name. No, it wasn't a fake name. It was the name of the person who owned the vehicle.
Mhm.
So they're dressing it up like this is a lot bigger than it really is. And it
Kratz
really
likes
bothers
to.
me.
It bothers me too how Kratz likes to embellish these little details.
Oh, he
Where
sure does.
if you read the police report, it very clearly says that the auto trader employee believed that the person was mumbling, and they gave a name, but they weren't able to completely understand the name, so they just wrote down B instead of Barbara or Barb, Yonda.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like he was intending to hide it, but being that the car belonged to her, she would be the contact person for the
Absolutely.
potential buyer to contact. You don't contact Steven. He's just the one that's handling the photographs being
He's
taken.
setting up the photographs because he's going to be the one that's at home at the time.
Right.
I mean, how else would they have done this?
Right.
Barb wasn't there when she'll be coming around to take the pictures, so why not have someone who will be there? It makes a heck of a lot of sense, but they're trying to make it. They sell it in a way that is tries to make it look very nefarious, when in fact
Mhm.
it isn't.
Right. And
And
you know,
any
yeah,
sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
and I was going to say, and anyone who really digs into all the information and all the available information about this case will see that. And they don't want that. They were hoping this would just, the only story that would get out there was what they were presenting, and they made it look as bad as possible toward him. And they'd really like for this to just go away. And the state is really, seems to be really pushing hard for this to continue that way. And I mean, even if people weren't heavily involved in it now they're at the point where, it looks bad because I was at least, not looking into it, and not, I thought he was guilty, so I wasn't too concerned about following correct procedures. And now they have to fight a lot harder, because now their careers are going to be heavily tarnished by this as more information comes out. You know,
Mhm.
a guy's second wrongful conviction, and it's a huge embarrassment for them.
Yeah, very
So
much.
they're, regardless of their involvement in it, they're gonna fight this right to the end.
Hmm.
And even if Stephen and Brendan get out, the state doesn't like the state doesn't have to look into it anymore because they can say, as far as we're concerned, the case is closed. There's nothing left to look at. We
I'd love
found
to
our
see
guys.
them. I'd love to see them try to pull that shit and tell the hall box that. You know what I mean? Like the hall box surely won't let them get away with that. Like that's not going to work.
Well, you'd like
Go
to think
ahead.
so. I don't.
I would hope
I'd
not.
really. It'd be interesting to hear something from them, but you really don't know what's going on in their minds.
Yeah, I
Like they
sure
can't
would.
they can't be still believing everything the state's saying with every other bit of information that's been coming out and how the state has been handling this.
Right. I think that they are put, unfortunately, in a really bad position where we know how they're lying to the public. We know how they're lying in court. Um, what lies did they tell when the cameras weren't on that aren't in legal documents, that aren't in police reports? What lies are they telling the hall box to get them to go along with this and believe that Stephen and Brendan are the right killers? Like, who knows? So I don't blame them for feeling like that. But if it comes to the point, or when it comes to the point that the guys are exonerated, I hope that they at least start looking into it, questioning things like, okay, something's up here. You know,
Hmm.
like we can't sit here and hide back here and be shielded by these people who clearly are lying anymore. Let's get to the bottom of this and find out what's going on. I hope they do. I really do. And then they won't allow the state or anybody to continue to hide behind them. We're doing this for the hall box. Prove it. Go find Trace's killer. Because that's
At
one
some point,
thing. I'm not stopping until her killer's found. I'm just not. It's not over.
yeah, at some point you got to hope that they get angry enough and say, we're not playing your games anymore. We want to know who did this. You're using our daughter's death as a tool for you to keep this guy in prison who you don't like.
Right. Oh, thanks, Pom Pom. Current goal. The current donation is at $12.91.55. Thank you, everybody. This is so awesome. I'm so happy with how amazing this is going. It's been so much fun too. Tracy should be on in about 15 minutes. All right.
Okay, I'm gonna get ready to leave here. So if anyone has any kind of science question they want to throw out before I leave, they should do it now. Because I think I've got some family members that are starting to get hungry.
Okay. Yep, get your last questions in while you can. So who's coming to the rally while we're waiting on some questions? How many of you guys are coming to the rally? I'm going. Are you
What's the
are
date on
you
that rally?
June 15th?
Okay, I'm too far away, so
Aw,
it's not
that's
an
too
issue
bad.
for me. And I do it. There's a question there. The bullet, can you explain, please? Now, I'm assuming they mean, can I explain how the DNA got on the bullet?
That would be a
Um,
good thing to talk about.
okay. From what I understand, when they examine a bullet, they will examine it under a microscope, and they should be able to see blood and stuff like that, um, if it's present. Um, there was no presumptive test for blood done on that bullet, which is strange, but they checked it for DNA, which is weird. Usually it's like, find one, okay, we'll go for the other one then. So that to me appears to be a kind of a breaking protocol. Um, One thing about the bullet too is sometimes um, when you do the PCR analysis, and you know how they bathe the bullet in their buffer to get all the DNA and stuff off for their analysis, they what I would have expected them to do is to save that solution of DNA that they had for their PCR analysis. Because usually when you run a PCR analysis, you take a bit of your sample and you add it to your PCR reagents. They don't just pour an entire, you know, entire little beaker full of solution in. So it always struck me as strange as why they didn't preserve the solution that they were washing the bullet off in, because that would have been forensic material right there. Mm-hmm. The fact that it doesn't exist anymore is questionable to me, and I would have wondered why that was the case.
Well, because it was contaminated and it was no good, of course.
Yeah, why would it? It's good enough for results, but it's contaminated. So why would I want to keep it?
Yeah, why would I want to
use one excuse for one side and the other excuse for the other?
Right.
Another. What do you think about Groffy doing presumptive tests on ignition stain and only a day later photographing it because allegedly he might not enter the car to prevent disturbance? I don't know everything about how the car was handled. The idea that they ran any kind of test before photographing it is extremely bizarre. Why would you? Because when you start sampling a blood stain, you're disrupting it. You're changing the appearance of it because you're rubbing saline or water on a swab on it. You're destroying the original forensic evidence by doing that. The claims that this was done after the photographs were taken after the swab are very puzzling, because again, it's not what you would want to do, and like with most things with this case, they did things that make you wonder, like, what were they thinking? Why would they do it this way? And the only answer you can come up with is either they're not being truthful about it, or they're hiding something, or they're making some sort of excuse to explain why things were done a certain way, or why this wasn't, why this looks a certain way. It's like, it seems like the ignition looking the way it is, it almost seems like an excuse they were using. Oh, we took a picture of it after we did the swabs, and that's why it looks like that. It's like, why the hell would you do that then?
Right.
It's like, is this the first case you guys have ever dealt with? It's like they couldn't have done this, done things worse in this case if they tried. That's what it always comes down to with me.
What does this look like to you? Does that look like that was swabbed before?
That looks like a drop of blood that someone wiped with something to take off the middle part, the where it would still be a little higher up. Yeah, maybe a swab. They dabbed it on there. That was something wet.
Okay, so like not necessarily the Colburn, I believe, is the one that was in Stephen's bathroom, which is where this is from, taking the swabs. So you think that this might have been done possibly by the killer coming in to collect the blood that they were cleaning up in the bathroom for planting? Or does this look like they swabbed it to do for their testing, like for Colburn did it, and then took a picture of it?
Well, it doesn't look like they took a swab and removed the whole thing. It looks like someone might have just taken a moistened swab and kind of dabbed it in the middle there just to get enough on the tip for, if it was done with a swab, that's what it looks like to me.
Does this
It doesn't
is
look
there
like
any?
it's smeared, but it does look like the middle, that would have been kind of the most concentrated part of it was removed, but not because someone wiped it or anything like that.
Is it possible that that sort of thing could occur naturally? Like I've heard that was some sort of a bubble that popped or something by gilters. Is that possible?
No, that doesn't look like a bubble popping. It's not round enough. And a bubble wouldn't be that clear in the middle.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. I've always wondered that. I never had anybody to ask. The center would have most blood and maybe still wet. The outer part maybe has dried. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. If it was only partially dried and someone dipped something in there and it only sucked up the liquid part, that's also what it would look like. So if it was still relatively fresh, that's another reason for it having that appearance. And that kind of goes along with what Steven said, but he left after he was bleeding. If that spot came there that time, that's a potential reason for it to look like that. Someone was in there while he was gone and touched it with a swab and left with the blood on a swab, and the thinner part on the outside dried.
Right. That's what I'd always wondered. It just didn't look natural to me, but I've never seen like a drop of blood that had a bubble that busted before. So I don't know what that might look like, but I thought about that too. Like, all that blood that came up missing in the bathroom. And then there's that. Yeah. But somebody asked who took that. I don't think it says who actually took that specific photo, but I know that Colburn was in the bathroom taking samples.
Yeah, I'd love to see information about the photos with timestamps and who took them. Yeah. Timestamps would be fantastic information.
Yeah. He was in that bathroom photographing and taking samples.
Okay. I think that'll be it for me. I'll thank everyone for their questions and thank Allie for having me on here. It was super fun to do it, and who knows if this ever happens again. I wouldn't be opposed to doing this again.
Well, thank you so much for joining. Like last minute too, everybody. Like totally last minute. Just last night, we're like, "Hey," and yeah, okay, let's do this. And
I've been trying
just
for a couple of days, trying to contact people, but I didn't know how to use. People said, "Oh, you can contact them on Discord," and I couldn't do it. And I had to ask around. It's like, how can I get in contact with these people? Because people said, "Hey, you should go in and talk about the stuff that you did," and I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
But yeah, it took me about 2-3 days before I could actually get a hold of someone, and then you happened to be the person that was on, and so I basically
I won. Yay.
Yeah, you won.
I'm so glad you came on. Like you've answered a lot of my questions, especially like that last one. Just for years I've looked at that and never had anyone to ask. And thank you for coming on and explaining all these things to us that are just things we'd never know if we didn't have someone like you to explain them to us, because they're just so complicated.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate it and all the work that you do. spreading the word and being a supporter.
Yeah, and a lot of these things, they're complicated to understand, and they're also very complicated to explain. And hopefully, I at least made it a little easier to understand on some of the things I talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it was a lot of fun here, and I'll just thank everyone again for having me on. And
Anytime.
I'll sign out now.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Have a good night and the rest of your weekend. Oh no. No,
Seeing you.
no. I can't mute it. Why can't I mute it? There we go. I had to mute that. I'm so sorry. There we go. That was his outro music. I don't want my video to get like shut down where I can't play it anymore. I did that because I'm so dumb. I totally did that to myself the last time. Did I? Okay, good.
I'm still here. I got 20 minutes left.
Okay, awesome. I haven't seen Tracy pop on yet, so
Tracy, where are you?
she ought to be here like 5 minutes. Yeah.
I keep switching names.
So really quick before Tracy pops on, we ask her about the RAV4. Does anybody want to ask Laura anything else?
Wait, before that, there's something that I caught before that I wanted to ask or address. I have to find it. Hold on.
Awesome, Kim. Make sure to say hi to me too. I'm Devlin Allie on Discord, so make sure you say hi to me as well.
Shoot, where was it?
Yeah, first I need to learn how to edit videos so I can cut out the portions of the music so that if they do get flagged in 230 countries that I could remove that portion and then repost it. I still have another video. If I can ever figure out how to edit, I'll put that back up as well.
It won't let me go back that far. Somebody asked a question. I'm sorry I missed it. Hey, D. Peterson.
That's awesome. Thanks, Respect Watcher. I know. I'm so happy. And that's the first time I'd ever talked to Rayxor before. So, it's great getting to meet all these people. Tomorrow, I'm going to have another Redditor on that's going to talk about the bullet, and I've never talked to this person either before. So it's awesome to get to meet all of these amazingly smart, intelligent, kind people
like me,
like Laura, who I've known forever and ever and ever, but and new people. I love it. This is my favorite thing to do on my channel. I love to talk about just talk back and forth with the chat, even respectful debates with the guilters. Totally like that. And I'll even invite you on to join on the panel. Like, we're totally open here.
Fluffer.
So somebody asked Laura a question. Can you re-ask it, please?
Do I think the RAV4 is still around?
Oh.
That question?
That's the only one I see.
Is he bothering you?
I think isn't he? They wanted you to answer that.
What? If I think the RAV4 is still around?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I do too. I mean, honestly, I have to trust what Zellner says, and for whatever her reasons are, she believes that it is. So I got nothing better to go on than that. Also, Vanessa's asking, what do you think about the Skinner case and similar dismissal of evidence and cover-ups?
All right. Don't hate me, Vanessa. I don't know the Skinner case. What's the Skinner case?
Oh goodness. Well,
AJ, is that AJ?
Last night, Courtney Skinner came on with me and Casey, and Casey has found things that I never could. Like, Courtney came to me a long time ago and gave me all the information she had on the case, and she's like, help me do this, and I think it's connected. And I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah,
I remember that girl.
I might have even contacted you because I contacted like everybody. I was like, what do I do? Like, what should I do with this? I'm lost. And I wanted to help her so bad, but I just didn't know what to do. And I wasn't doing lives at the time. And
Yeah, you told me about that.
Yeah, I talked to so many people trying to find her help.
I remember that. And I told her, I said I wouldn't touch it. I said it's old.
Yeah, but it's a lot of, the same people like Kratz. Kratz is in there, and
yeah, but it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago. Kratz was like brand new. To think that Kratz lived an entire life of greed and corruption, you could say yes,
and sweat.
No, but there's no proof at all. Like I can't even Kratz, who I fucking despise. See, Julie, I can't not do the F-bomb. As much as I try, I can't.
Do it. Go ahead.
No, Julie hates it. It's just that no matter how much I dislike Kratz, and believe me, we all know I dislike Kratz, you can't accuse him of something without any proof. There is proof with making a murderer that he is a scam ball. There's proof with making a murderer he's a liar. There's proof with making a murderer that fluffing out of butter is going to drive me insane. You know what it is? He wants to play with Buka. And Buka's just laying there like, leave me the fuck alone. And Fluffer's not having it. And then Buka goes other places to try to get away from him, and then Fluffer follows him.
Oh,
now he's up here, like, tell him
baby.
To why? He won't stop bothering you. I know, big meanie. He's a big meanie. So there's stuff to say that Kratz is this horrible person because of making a murderer. But to think that his entire career and life is, it is horrible because, of what he did in making a murder, you can't falsely accuse someone like that. So to say that he was involved 20 years ago, I'm not buying it.
Oh, he was like, she literally was in his office talking to him, and he's telling her, I'm not going to prosecute this man because he's deceased. Like, I mean, yeah, you can't take him to fucking court, but you could at least say, all right, this man murdered your brother, and, set that straight, and maybe even get into why was this covered up to begin with? Because it's so clear. It was clear to the coroner, the same one that did Teresa's autopsy. It was clear to the coroner that the child was murdered. So how did this man get away with it for 40 years? It was in 1967. How did that happen? Why did that happen? And why is this, still being swept under the rug? Well, I mean, we know why they didn't want to put time into investigating it back when they reopened the case in 2003, because by 2005, they had made up their mind. We're not going to do anything with this, and we're going after Avery. So we're done with this. And that was they washed their hands of it. They're done. Like, they wouldn't go after the foster mother. It's just a big old mess. I really feel like this. I said this last night. This goes back so far, and then the torch is passed to the next person. And then the torch is passed to the next person who are continually keeping secrets for the ones before them and making their own, like the corruption has just gone back. And I like how the Skinner case shows that that pattern of corruption and how far back we can trace it,
Okay,
like it doesn't.
But did you check Wisconsin law to see if they can retry a case or somebody after he's dead when the guy's dead? So I don't know what justification you're looking for legally. Forget personal or anything else. Legally, the guy's dead. So how are they going to try a case? Or why would they reopen a case if the person is dead? That's my point.
Well, like
legally, just legally.
Like legally, I mean, they could at least rule that this was a murder. It wasn't an accidental death due to child's play. And then maybe if they rule it a murder, they'll name the murderer. And then maybe they do that. Then they'll go into an investigation of why this man was allowed to get away with it for so long. How did that happen? Because is it corruption? Is it just like laziness? Like what did happen back then? An investigation should be done into it, I think.
But I thought you told me that the coroner did change it.
Yeah, I don't remember if they did change the ruling, but then Kratz ended up deciding he's still not going to do anything about it, which would have been the next step in finding out why this happened in the first place and how this all ties together that could somehow help Brendan and Steven, which is what Casey is going to do. That's like a new series she's going to go into now that she's back. She's going to dig into this and how it all ties together. So I look forward to that because she got more into that part of it than I did. I was more into the personal. Hey, Eric Jose.
Hey.
What's up?
But what I'm saying is if you move forward with it, like fast forward, what does Wisconsin law say about the case? Like, what does Wisconsin law say as far as reopening cases? Like, all that plays a part.
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, Eric Jose, isn't Tracy supposed to be coming in?
It's Tracy.
Yeah, I'm just here for fun. I'm not.
Oh, okay.
I'm not on next, folks. I'm just here to be here.
Okay.
Welcome.
I'm playing Stacy if you can't tell. So
thank you. Yes, please do.
Eric Jose, did you watch Tracy this morning?
Did I watch Casey?
Did you watch Tracy this morning?
Tracy, yes. Fair amount of it, yes. I was busy lining up guests and doing other things, but good portion of it.
So people are saying that Tracy said this morning KZ could have tested the RAV4 and didn't.
Okay, that I don't know about. I've never heard that. I haven't seen that in a motion where she ever had access to it.
I think the wording of that is the problem. I need to hear that from Tracy that she said it in that way. I think that might have been their impression, but it is related, but I don't think that she said it that way. We'll see if she comes on. Sorry.
I know I just saw her pop up in chat, so she's around.
Okay, good.
That we are told.
Thank you, Leslie. Oh, there she is.
Ask and you shall receive.
There she is.
Tracy!
Hi, Laura. I just heard the question. What I said was that the agreement that Kathleen had made with Alan included access to the RAV. And so that agreement was agreed to 2 weeks before the court ruled. So if Kathleen would have notified Judge S of the agreement, she would have had access to the RAV because they'd agreed to it. But since she didn't notify the court, they made the decision, and then that agreement was no longer valid. That's what I said.
Yeah. Oh, so she didn't have a time of window that she could have tested it and just failed.
No, they made the agreement. She thought she was going to have time to notify the court, and then they would be able to do the testing, and she just didn't notify them in time, and the judge ruled, and then once she ruled, that agreement was out the window.
Phew, we all thought like we missed something big.
No, I don't know how I worded it. I had no sleep, but that's what I was talking about. I was talking about that agreement where she and Fallon agreed to test the bones, the pelvic bone and the hood latch and a few other things and access to the RAV.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I had a feeling it was something like that and not just what?
No, because she could have done it and she just said, screw it, I'm not doing that. No.
Yeah. Who needs the RAV4? I'm good.
It didn't make sense. Because I may not have followed in detail the way I used to, but something like that, I think somebody would have brought to my attention, like Zellner fucked up the RAV4 testing, like someone would have brought it to me. That's why I was like, no, I've never even heard anything like that.
Maybe I'll clarify at the beginning of my video, just because obviously maybe I didn't say it correctly or people didn't understand, but you do remember that, right? The agreement that was part of the agreement of what she could do if that agreement would have stood. But
yeah. And I think part of the confusion was maybe some people were like, well, shit, they agreed to it. And all she had to do was just file something really quick. She could have done it in a day. She could have just filed that really quick before Judge Angie just comes out with the ruling. And she lost the opportunity.
That's not entirely inaccurate. I mean, all
Right.
she would do is write up a little letter of 2 sentences saying, hey, I'm planning on filing an amended petition. Please
Right.
don't rule. Please don't rule until we have an opportunity to file. And I've reached an agreement with the state to do additional testing. That's really all she had to do.
Yeah.
And I said, the minute you say that, people start thinking you're automatically bashing. I'm not. I'm just saying that was a fact, that agreement happened. I believe it was 2 weeks prior to the decision was being made. So if she would have done it, and I mean, it was just a matter of her thinking that she had more time probably to get the testing, like get it all lined up and everything before she did it. And she just ran out of time and didn't know it because the judge ruled. So it wasn't
right. Like
what she purposely did. It was just one of those things.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to guess, just randomly guess for why that might have happened, if she was doing like what you just said, looking for where am I going to get this testing, who's going to do it, does the state agree to this being neutral or, you know, a non-biased testing source, and get that all sorted out before she presents it to the judge.
And if I'm being completely honest, a letter like that, she would not have done. She would have assigned that to a clerk, or a law student. That would have been something they would have done. So we don't know that she didn't tell somebody to do it and they dropped the ball. Yeah. We don't know. It's still her responsibility because they work for her, but that is not something that she would have done physically herself. She would have had somebody type up that letter and file it with the court. And so we don't know that she didn't. She's not going to go and tell everybody, well, wow, my clerk really screwed up. That person just got fired. She's not going to say that. So, I mean, it is, no matter what, it's ultimately her responsibility. But if she did tell someone to do it and they dropped the ball, what is she going to do?
Right.
Other than fire the person. That's really the only recourse you have, is say.
I have a question for you, Tracy. Okay. That's been burning at me for probably 3 years, 2 years. Does she really write these motions, or do you think someone else is writing them?
I do not think she physically writes them. I think she consults with her partner and with her team, and they decide what to do, because she is a busy ass woman. She does not have time to sit there on her computer typing a motion. Most of these motions are already like pre-set up forms or whatever that you just fill in the information. And no, she's going to have, again, one of her clerks or one of her assistants is actually going to physically type it up. She would have to review it and edit it and say, get rid of this, get rid of whatever, but she is not physically typing it herself.
Because I think that you can tell which motions she really did and which motions she probably didn't do. Like, to me, reading tons of different motions in any law, I just see the difference. And being that you would know this more than I would, I just wanted to kind of confirm that my gut instincts was right. Like,
I obviously can't say for sure. I don't work for her, and I don't know anybody that works for her, so I can't say for sure. But that would be generally how it would work with somebody with a big practice like that and a busy practice. That would be something you would assign to somebody else to do. You just oversee it. You saw it even in MaM too, that they had their little powwow around the table where they discussed, okay, what can we use here? Like, what kind of arguments? What kind of case law? They have these little war meetings where they discuss it all. But then she would be like, okay, you type it up and then give it to me.
I just feel like that if she actually wrote it, it would be more powerful in certain respects, because I believe she gives.
You definitely see her. You can see her sarcasm and some of her, her edginess for sure. So those are probably her little touches that she throws in there. Because I doubt that a law student or a clerk would be that ballsy. So, but she probably specifically says, I want that in there because I'm going to throw my weight around. So those little touches are absolutely her, because that would be out of line for somebody beneath her to take that chance in front of a judge to make some kind of comment like that. That is absolutely her input for sure, because that's just her. She wants to prove she's got the biggest balls in the room, So.
Hopefully it all works.
Ones.
All I gotta say is hopefully it all works.
Yeah, I love her sassiness. I love it.
Yeah, and I said that's all her, absolutely, without a doubt, because there's no way that any clerk would ever do that. So, and that's the fun part about it. That's the fun part with her. And you don't want to say fun because it's a horrible thing to deal with, but she's not afraid to mix it up. not afraid, and that's good. That's what Steve needs. He needs somebody that's a pit bull, somebody that's not afraid, of the courts, not afraid of the judges, not afraid of anybody. And it can get her in trouble sometimes. You never know when you're going to piss off the wrong judge, but don't know till you try, I guess.
Yeah.
And I don't think she's gotten as far as she has, especially as a female attorney, being a wallflower. She definitely has to kind of be bigger, badder, and than everybody else to get where she's gotten. So that's it.
Yeah. Well, I've got your link up for everybody to jump over. The party's jumping over to Tracy's channel as soon as she's ready to go over there and get it up. She's going to be your host.
Then you guys finish up, and I will get started over there, and then join me over there if you want.
Yep.
Okay. See ya.
Awesome.
Well, I'm not gonna say bye, Rosie. I'll see you like in a little bit.
I'll see you in a minute.
You go get it started, and we'll play a Stacy song.
Eric, what'd you say?
I said you go get it started. We'll go out on a Stacy song and see you there.
Okay. Yep. Bye.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much for hanging out with us this whole time. Sorry you didn't get too deep into. I mean, that's hard. It's hard for us to really contribute to that.
Everyone knows they can ask me whatever at any time. I mean, it's not a big deal. For my Patreons, I'm going live at 9:30. If you guys didn't get notifications, so 30 minutes, and it won't be about MAM. Me and Marissa doing a collab, and I will see you guys later.
Is that Marissa S?
What?
Is that Marissa S?
No, Molly Go Lightly.
Marissa? Oh, I see.
Oh, well, I like her. She never listens to me whenever I tell her that, but I like her. Just, gotten to know her a little bit from watching her on your channel. I like her. So tell her I said hello. She won't know who the hell I am, but whatever.
What happened last night? Oh my God. It was nasty. Let's just say both mine and Marissa's computers were hacked. My Streamlabs was hacked. Her live was hacked. Said, you know what? We're not playing around with these people. We're gonna actually look what they had to say, and it was crazy. So we're gonna talk about it tonight. I will see you guys. Some of you guys, I'll see you later. Other you guys, I will see you guys shortly. But again, May 5th, I think this channel comes back. So I'll be back under PurPleXedQT with nothing but true crime. Drama will be on the other channel. Yay. So MAM stuff, check out Allie, check out Ear Cozy, and peace out.
Bye, Laura.
Bye, guys.
Have fun tonight.
Bye-bye, Laura. And everybody remember to get over there and subscribe to Stacy.
Yeah.
We got to get that boy to 1,000 subscribers. So,
Yes.
So remember that.
Mm-hmm. All right, Stacy, play us out.
All aboard!
Truth Train is appropriate.
Get on the train before it leaves the station. Wisconsin versus Avery, a complete fabrication. Get on the train before it leaves town. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down, run them down. And we all know Stephen and Brendan were blamed, but it does not take a brain surgeon to see that they were framed. And yes, we know what this was about. The civil suit, the settlement that did not want to pay out, want to pay out. And you may hear this song, or maybe you don't get it. I suggest you look up TikTok, Manitowoc on Reddit. There you will find trial transcripts, evidence files, and reports, and you will start to fathom the corruption within the court. And as you shake your head because everything seems demented, you will find yourself in company of three honoring judges that dissented. But don't you worry, you're not going insane. You just happen to sit down on Zelda's True Train. Get on the train before it leaves the station. Final destination, inevitable exoneration. Get on the train before it leaves town. The truth train is coming, gonna run them down, run them down. Get on the train.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Let's go over to Tracy's party now.
Subscribe to Allie, subscribe to Stacy if you haven't done so already. We'll see you guys.